Chapter 282 How Tian Shows His Might, Joined Forces to Kill the Demon Emperor. Chapter 282 How Tian Shows His Might, Joined Forces to Kill the Demon Emperor. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor looked down at Zhang Yi and smiled disdainfully. Give you face, Zhang Yi, who do you think you are? If not for the fact that we are separated by generations, would you be worthy of being the #1 prodigy of the Golden Crow Divine clan? If you were of the same generation as me, your Dao heart would have long been crushed by me. Zhang Yi was furious. He took out a token and said coldly, "This is the token of the demon venerable. It can command the entire clan. I order you now to not pester Han Ju anymore." The true sun flame on the Golden Crow Divine Emperor's body surged violently and quickly condensed into a human figure. After transforming, the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor walked towards Zhang Yi step by step. His gaze was cold as he revealed a sinister smile. The demon venerable also wants to care about me. After I reach the deity realm, the next leader of the Golden Crow Divine clan will be me. Zhang Yi, you're too arrogant. Since you want to plead for mercy for the guardian of the reroll world, you can die too. I'll let you taste pain on his behalf first. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor laughed wildly, his tone filled with killing intent. He charged towards Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi's expression changed drastically. He took out a sword with his right hand and immediately fought. I'm the strongest prodigy in the history of the Golden Crow Divine clan. Zhang Yi roared in his heart. He was also infuriated by the Golden Crow Divine Emperor's arrogance. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? Time passed slowly. Another 20 years passed by. Han Ju felt the beauty of life again. Without the threat of powerful enemies, he could cultivate in peace. The peace and serenity caused his cultivation speed to increase greatly. In addition to the negative karma of the 36th grade reincarnation world destruction Black Lotus, Han Ju was getting closer and closer to becoming a rank 3 immortal emperor. While his cultivation increased, Han Ju's physique also became stronger. Under the development of the heavenly cycle body tempering technique, even Han Ju himself felt that the stellar primordial body was becoming more and more terrifying. It would simply be unimaginable when he stepped into the deity realm. 10 years passed. Han Ju took out the Book of Misfortune and continued cursing the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor, the Demon Emperor, and Golden Rock Demon Lord. While cursing, he checked his emails. He suddenly saw an email and frowned. Your good friend Zhang Yi was attacked by your enemy Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. He died and his Dao dissipated. A trace of his soul was preserved by his ancestors. Fighting among fellow clansmen, Han Ju suddenly thought of a possibility. Could it be that Zhang Yi was attacked by the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor? No, that fellow was so arrogant. Han Ju frowned. He was in a bad mood. He checked his interpersonal relationships and heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that Zhang Yi's portrait was still there. He was dead, but not completely. Fortunately, it had to be said that the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor was truly too savage. Han Ju's eyes were firm. He had to think of a way to kill the Golden Crow Divine Emperor. Otherwise, his Dao heart would be damaged. A month later, Han Ju entered the simulation trial. Unfortunately, he still couldn't defeat the Golden Crow Divine Emperor. He had to cultivate more. Just as Han Ju was sighing, Dao Comprehension Sword walked into the cave abode and stopped in front of him. Howard wants to see you. Han Ju opened his eyes and said, "Let him in." Dao Comprehension Sword immediately sent a message. Recently, Long Hao's cultivation speed had increased greatly. Something was wrong. Soon, Long Hao quickly knelt down in front of Han Ju and said respectfully, "Master, I often dream when I cultivate recently. In my dreams, a mysterious person is teaching me a mystical power, but I can't see his true appearance. He was an immortal god. How could he dream? It was too abnormal." Han Ju narrowed his eyes. As expected, Hao Tian had begun to make his move. Han Ju had always been wary of him. This strongest heavenly emperor was clearly up to something. Other than teaching you the mystical power, is there anything else? Han Ju asked. Long Hao gritted his teeth and hesitated for a moment before saying, "He said that I'm someone who will face the calamity. I'll overturn the myriad worlds and slaughter the heavenly court, but I'm the son of the heavenly emperor. How can I?" He was terrified. He had also heard a lot about the immeasurable calamity from the Black Hell Demon Lord and Xuan Chang'an. It was said that when the calamity developed to the extreme, all living beings would be controlled by negative karma, unable to control themselves and sink into slaughter. He was afraid that he would do the same. Han Ju consoled, "It's fine. As long as you stay here, you won't be in trouble." Wait, Han Ju suddenly thought of something and felt uneasy. If something happened to Long Hao's family, would he want to go to the immortal world? Currently, the heavenly court was facing danger. There was no guarantee that something would happen. Did Hao Tian predict this moment to bewitch Long Hao? When Long Hao heard Han Ju's words, he immediately felt much better. He trusted him the most. Han Ju's status in his heart was even higher than the Heavenly Emperor. After all, he had never seen the Heavenly Emperor since he was born. The Heavenly Emperor had only seen him twice in the few years he was in the Heavenly Court. Long Hao felt a little sad every time he thought of this. He knew that he still had many brothers and sisters who worked under the Heavenly Emperor. Han Ju said, "Ignore the person in the dream and don't cultivate his mystical power." Long Hao nodded. Then, Han Ju began to preach the Tao to him, wanting to negate Hao Tian's influence. Long Hao left after a month. Not long after he left, Tulinger came in next. "Master, can I leave Hidden Sect Island? I want to go to the Netherworld. I feel something calling me," Tulinger asked expectantly. Han Ju immediately rejected it. "No, if you leave, you won't be my disciple anymore." Tulinger, the reincarnated Grand Magus, was definitely bewitched by the Magus race. The calamity had arrived. Han Ju couldn't be bothered with Meng Po. He only hoped that Tulinger wouldn't cause trouble for him and expose the whereabouts of Hidden Sect Island. Even someone as strong as Meng Po would be attacked from time to time. If Tulinger went out, she would definitely ask for help. Tulinger immediately felt wronged. Han Ju said seriously, "The immeasurable calamity has started. Once you leave, the Hidden Sect might face a calamity because of you. The Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor is still looking for us. Do you really want to get us all killed?" Tulinger hurriedly shook her head in fear, not daring to say that she wanted to go out. Then, Han Ju taught her a mystical power and let her leave. Dao Comprehension Sword sat on her mat and sighed. "Master, is this the calamity? It's bewitching us to go out." "Good, you've finally understood. Don't worry, no matter what, I won't go out." "Good girl." Han Ju smiled in satisfaction. The people in the entire Hidden Sect that made him the least worried were the Black Hell Chicken, Li Yao, and Dao Comprehension Sword. In fact, the three of them were afraid of being chased out. Then, Han Ju closed his eyes and continued cultivating. Next, he wanted to break through to the rank 3 Immortal Emperor realm. When he reached this realm, he might be able to fight the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. Year after year passed. Another 50 years went by. In the midst of cultivating, Han Ju seemed to sense something and suddenly opened his eyes. "Oh, why is he looking for me?" Han Ju closed his eyes again and jumped into the chaotic domain. The chaotic domain was a place that Han Ju entered when he became an emperor. Only the chaotic physique could enter it. Divine Palace's Dao Sovereign said that he had something to talk about. Seeing Han Ju appear, Dao Sovereign said, "Fellow Taoist, do you dare to join forces with me to kill the Demon Emperor?" Chapter 283 Second Immortal World. Chapter 283 Second Immortal World. Join forces to kill the Demon Emperor. Is he crazy? Han Ju felt that Dao Sovereign wanted to trick him. The Demon Court suppressed the Heavenly Court, the Divine Palace, and the Buddhist sect. What right did a genius of the Divine Palace have to say that he wanted to kill the Demon Emperor? Han Ju asked, "Where did you get your confidence from?" Dao Sovereign said, "The Demon Emperor has already gone demonic. He seems to have become stronger, but he has actually let down his guard. He definitely won't expect anyone to dare to ambush him when he's showing off." "Was it your idea, or the Divine Palace's? Is there a difference? I'm afraid that the Divine Palace will trick me." "Did the Divine Palace offend you? My good brother Zhang Guxing was imprisoned by you guys." "Oh, you and Zhang Guxing are sworn brothers. I guess." Han Ju was ambiguous, in case the Divine Palace used Zhang Guxing to threaten him. Dao Sovereign fell silent. Han Ju said, "It's too dangerous to kill the Demon Emperor. I'm afraid of death." "Forget it. He must be joking. The Demon Emperor had a 6-star hatred towards him. He would die if he approached him." Dao Sovereign said, "You and I both have the chaotic physique. I have a way to deceive them. We will have a chance as long as we approach the Demon Emperor. I have a supreme treasure with me that can definitely take the Demon Emperor's life." "Forget it, forget it. I'm really afraid. HMPH. Dao Sovereign flicked his sleeve in anger. If it was any other genius, they would definitely be extremely excited. This was a good opportunity to become famous. Dao Sovereign suppressed his anger and said, "If we can kill the Demon Emperor, both of us can obtain great providence. Becoming a Zenith Heaven in the future is not an extravagant hope." Zenith Heaven. He claimed that this would allow them to reach Zenith Heaven the moment he opened his mouth. If news of this spread, it would definitely attract disbelief. However, Dao Sovereign had a chaotic physique. He was the only one in the entire immortal world. He indeed had the right to say that. As for Hanju, he actually didn't have the chaotic physique. He had the even stronger primordial physique. The calamity is about to arrive. It's best for us to stay out of it. With our potential, we can clearly keep a low profile and cultivate. Why should we interfere in this? Our era is not the present, but the future. Hanju advised seriously. If the Dao Sovereign died in the calamity, Hanju would have no opponent after that. That would be very lonely. Dao Sovereign shook his head. Forget it, don't spread this matter. With that said, he vanished into the chaotic domain. Hanju didn't think too much, and his consciousness returned to his body. He wasn't tempted by the Dao Sovereign's invitation at all. This fellow didn't even have a favorable impression of him, so how could he trust such a guy? He continued to cultivate. Another 10 years passed. Hanju had just finished cursing the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor and Golden Rock Demon Lord when he began cursing the Demon Emperor. He started checking his emails. Because of your curse, the mental demon of your enemy Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor has grown greatly. His soul has been invaded by the negative karma of the world. Because of your curse, your enemy Golden Rock Demon Lord's soul trembled and his cultivation declined. Hanju smiled in satisfaction. Heaven did not let down those who worked hard. As long as he was willing to work hard, results would definitely appear. Hanju looked forward to seeing the three of them cursed to death. Currently, he did not have many enemies. It shouldn't involve too much karma. It was just that this was the first time he experienced the immeasurable calamity, so Hanju was still very nervous. 5 days after cursing the Demon Emperor, Hanju stood up and walked out of the cave abode to teach the hidden sect disciples. Apart from cultivation, what he had to do was nurture his disciples. When the calamity affected the netherworld, he would at least have helpers. The sun and moon did not rise in the netherworld, nor did the 4 seasons change. Hidden Sect Island was forever in darkness. Ada and Shower also did not dare to emit light to avoid exposing the Hidden Sect Island's location. Time passed silently. The netherworld was always dark, as if it had been abandoned by the heavenly Tao. Very few ghosts flew past the sky above the island. Very few would step into the Yellow Spring. Once they did, even Zenith Heaven experts could not save them. No one knew what was deep in the Yellow Spring. They only knew that once they fell, they would disappear forever. Hanju was also worried that the Yellow Spring water would drown Hidden Sect Island, but after a long period of observation, the conate restriction on Hidden Sect Island was very stable. It could make the island shrink and float on the Yellow Spring Sea. It was really safe here. Safer than staying in the reroll world. In order to promote positive competition in the Hidden Sect, Hanju decided to hold the Hidden Sect competition that happened once every 100 years. All disciples could participate and decide the ranking, including Hanju. He mainly wanted to suppress the Black Hell Demon Lord and the White-Robed Buddha to prevent them from getting overconfident. The first Hidden Sect competition would be held 100 years later. The disciples still had time to prepare. Hearing that there would be a ranking, the disciples of the Hidden Sect were all excited. Even Xuan Chang'an of the Buddhist lineage did not want his junior to surpass him. The 8 Han brothers were ridiculously talented. Perhaps they could catch up to Li Yao and Long Hao at some point. Mirongchi had even awakened the War God inheritance. His strength was greater than his cultivation realm. Now that all the disciples had displayed their talent, Hanju was looking forward to the future of the Hidden Sect. 17 years later, Hanju's heavenly Tao token suddenly became hot. He took it out and threw it aside. Then, he used his divine sense to probe the reroll world in the primordial world. What was the white-robed Buddha doing now? After observing for a while, Hanju finally figured it out. The white-robed Buddha split into thousands of clones and walked the world, preaching to all living beings. From Grand Unity Earth immortals to mortal farmers, everyone could hear his preaching. Everyone knew that the Tao techniques of the Chan school had become common in just a few decades. Hanju was caught between laughter and tears. If the Chan school knew, what would their reaction be? It was a good thing to preach, but after the masses spread it, it would no longer be impressive. Over time, people would feel that the Chan school was inferior to other sects. However, the Chan school had nothing to do with Hanju, so he couldn't be bothered to stop it. The stronger the reroll world was, the better. In any case, it was impossible for the other mortal worlds to find him now. As if sensing Hanju's divine sense, the white-robed Buddha suddenly opened his eyes and said, "Sect Master, I have something to ask of you." Hanju's divine sense locked onto him and asked, "What is it?" "Because of the reroll world, the Chan school has targeted me." The Chan school is coming to find trouble with you. Perhaps, but they don't dare to go to the netherworld. Don't you have a good relationship with the Heavenly Emperor? He has a good relationship with the Chan school. Can you ask him to restrain them? Why would the Heavenly Emperor help you? I'm confident that I can nurture the reroll world into a second immortal world. Instead of fighting for the immortal world, why don't the Heavenly Court create the next immortal world themselves? The white-robed Buddha said confidently. Hanju said bluntly, what makes you so confident? The white-robed Buddha replied, I'm proficient in the Buddhist and Chan methods. I've even traveled the immortal world and grasped countless inheritances. It's enough to turn the reroll world into the next immortal world. At that time, the providence of the Heavenly Court and the reroll world will fuse together. Their providence will definitely increase greatly. We're in the netherworld, the Chan school can't deduce our existence. But I'm afraid that someone will come and investigate me. They will know that the reroll world is rapidly growing and develop ill intentions. Fine, Hanju agreed. The white-robed Buddha had indeed done well. If not for him, the reroll world would not have such a grand occasion. Hanju retracted his consciousness and chased Dao Comprehension sword out of the Conate cave abode. Then, he called the Heavenly Emperor. However, after 2 hours, the Heavenly Emperor still did not reply. Did something happen to the Heavenly Court? Hanju frowned. He felt uneasy. Chapter 284 Saitagarbha Palace, Grand Magus Awakening. Chapter 284 Saitagarbha Palace, Grand Magus Awakening. Hanju started to read the emails, wanting to see how the Heavenly Emperor was doing. Soon, he caught a piece of news. Your good friend Heavenly Emperor was attacked by a mighty figure and was trapped by a mysterious forbidden array. The Heavenly Emperor was suppressed. Hanju frowned. To be honest, the Heavenly Emperor treated him very well. Be it for public or private reasons, he did not want anything to happen to him. He could only silently pray that the Heavenly Emperor was blessed. With his current strength, he couldn't save the other party at all. A mighty figure who could suppress the Heavenly Emperor was definitely a terrifying existence that surpassed the immortal Emperor realm. Hanju sighed and continued cultivating. In a dark valley, Ji Shanshan was meditating and cultivating. A strange red aura circled around his body, and a figure floated above his head. Only his upper body was like a ghost. The ghost looked down at him and smiled in satisfaction. You can already leave the netherworld. Even in the immortal world, you can dominate an area. Ji Shanshan's eyes did not open as he said, it's not enough. Didn't you say that the calamity has already begun? It'll be very dangerous if I go out now. For some reason, he would think of Hanju every time he was about to become arrogant. He always felt that Hanju was stronger than him. If he couldn't surpass Hanju, how could he fight for first place? He firmly believed that Hanju would be the greatest obstacle in his path to invincibility. Danger is danger, but this is also an opportunity. How many mighty figures fight for providence in the calamity and stand out? The ghost figure said seriously. You can't hide whenever you want in the calamity. You can't enter during the late stage of the calamity. By then, without great providence, it's very difficult for you to withstand the overwhelming negative karma. At that time, just the negative karma will be enough to make you suffer from chi deviation. Hearing this, Ji Shanshan slowly opened his eyes and frowned. The ghost continued, there's a divine weapon in the netherworld. Do you dare to snatch it? Ji Shanshan asked, is it very strong? It can shock the world, making ghosts and gods weep. Where? Saitagarbha Palace. Is it dangerous? Are you afraid? HMPH. Ji Xian stood up. He couldn't be rash. Lead the way. Hee. All right. 5 years later. In the midst of cultivating, Hanju suddenly opened his eyes. He felt a powerful aura on the mountain. Tu Ling. He immediately flashed out and appeared next to the fusang tree. At this moment, Tu Ling was wrapped by a huge red egg and could not move. Hanju came in front of the red egg and probed with his divine sense. He felt a very strong restriction that isolated his divine sense. Even the divine sense of an immortal emperor could not penetrate it. Han Wen said, she just broke through to the Grand Unity Heaven immortal realm and that happened. The others followed suit. Does Linger also have a powerful background in her previous life? What a terrifying aura. Who is she? Does she have the bloodline of a demon beast? No, her bloodline is even more terrifying. She looks to be from an ancient race. What's an ancient race? The first group of races that appeared after the world was created. Hearing everyone's chatter, Hanju didn't speak and stared at Tu Ling. The Black Hell Demon Lord walked to his side and asked in a low voice, you know her background. There's great karma. Clearly, the Black Hell Demon Lord had already guessed Tu Linger's background. Hanju replied, it's fine. I will always restrain her and prevent her from leaving the island. The Black Hell Demon Lord clicked his tongue in wonder. If she can really survive this calamity, she will become a mighty figure of the immortal world and dominate a realm. The others were moved. This was the first time the Black Hell Demon Lord had such a high opinion of someone. Perhaps, Hanju said perfunctorily. Before long, the red egg began to absorb the immortal chi of the cultivate diligently become immortal mountain. The absorption speed became faster and faster, forming a visible whirlwind. Hanju waved his right hand and brought Tulinger into the conate cave abode. The others dispersed and continued cultivating. In the cave abode, Hanju meditated and poured dharmic powers into Tulinger. He wanted to help her and increase her cultivation. Dao Comprehension Sword sized her up curiously and couldn't help but ask about her background. Hanju didn't hide anything from her. Dao Comprehension Sword was dumbfounded. Reincarnation of a Grand Magus. She was related to Meng Po, who controlled reincarnation. Indeed, my foundation is the worst, Dao Comprehension Sword thought bitterly. Hanju saw through her thoughts but didn't say anything. There was no denying the truth. Only by recognizing reality could she go further. Time passed. Tulinger finally woke up after a few days. The red egg dissipated into mist and she landed on the ground. At this moment, Tulinger was no longer as beautiful as before. Her body was covered in strange black scales, and her limbs were like sharp claws. Her body was strong, and her face was ugly and sinister. On her head were hard horns that were like branches. Dao Comprehension Sword was shocked. She thought that Tulinger had been possessed. However, Hanju knew that this was the true body of the Grand Magus. Tulinger's aura had completely changed. It was no longer the aura of a mortal, but a desolate and ferocious ancient aura. Grand Magus. Her body and bloodline had completely transformed into a Grand Magus, containing a terrifying power that could be seen with the naked eye. Most importantly, Tulinger's cultivation level had jumped to the perfected Grand Unity Heaven Immortal Realm. She was only a step away from the true Immortal Realm. Tulinger sized up her body and then transformed into her previous gentle and beautiful appearance. She knelt in front of Hanju and said excitedly, "Master, thank you for your help." She felt Hanju's vast dharmic powers when she awakened her bloodline. When she opened her eyes and saw Hanju, she understood what had happened. Hanju said, "Do you know your background now?" Tulinger nodded. "I've obtained the inherited memories. The Magus race hopes that I can save them." Hanju said calmly, "Don't go out for the time being. It's very dangerous recently." "I understand. I think so, too. Anyway, I don't have much feelings for the Magus race." Tulinger said this very casually, making Hanju feel that she was serious. He couldn't help but mourn for Meng Po. Although Tulinger might have let down the Magus race, Hanju was very satisfied. He didn't want to take any risks. Hanju chatted with Tulinger for a while and then let her leave. Dao Comprehension Sword did not say anything and immediately started cultivating. It was obvious that she was stimulated by Tulinger. After Tulinger transformed into a Grand Magus, her combat strength soared. Even the Black Hell Phoenix at the Grand Unity True Immortal Realm was not her match. The other hidden sect disciples also began to cultivate seriously. Including Murong Chi. Murong Chi had already awakened his memories of his previous life. He had thought that if he cultivated step by step, he would return to his peak sooner or later. But now, it seemed that just the peak was not enough. His fellow disciples were too talented, giving him immense pressure. 10 years later, Hanju put down the Book of Misfortune and was about to continue cultivating when he suddenly felt a powerful divine sense sweep across Hidden Sect Island. His heart skipped a beat. This divine sense. Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. This fellow actually found me in the Netherworld. Chapter 285 Rank 3 Immortal Emperor, planning to insta-kill the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. Chapter 285 Rank 3 Immortal Emperor, planning to insta-kill the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. Hanju couldn't help but become nervous when the Golden Crow Divine Emperor attacked. He wasn't the Golden Crow Divine Emperor's match for the time being. Just as Hanju was feeling nervous, the Golden Crow Divine Emperor's divine sense vanished. Did he not notice me? Hanju suddenly remembered that the Dao field could block divine sense. Now that he was an immortal emperor, the Dao field had become stronger and could block the divine sense of someone at the deity realm. He was relieved. As long as the Golden Crow Divine Emperor did not directly barge into the island, he shouldn't be discovered. The Hidden Sect Island looked big, but from the outside, it was only the tip of a reef. It was very tiny in the vast yellow spring. At the same time, the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor was still traveling above the yellow spring when he frowned. Strange, why did that fellow's aura disappear here? Did he fall into the yellow spring? The Golden Crow Divine Emperor was extremely furious. He had been looking for Hanju for so many years, why couldn't he find him? He had a feeling that that fellow was definitely not dead. If he didn't kill Hanju, the anger in his heart would not be appeased. Ever since he met Hanju, he had been cursed from time to time. It was definitely that guy cursing him. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor could not figure it out, but he believed in his instincts. Curses were not rare in the immortal world. Many cultivators knew how to do it. Regarding this matter, the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor had never revealed it to anyone because he had been cursed to develop a mental demon. This was already a humiliation and could not be made known to anyone. The more the Golden Crow Divine Emperor thought about it, the more aggrieved he became. He suddenly let out a long roar. The cry of the Divine Golden Crow was extremely piercing, resounding through the netherworld. Everyone on Hidden Sect Island heard it and was shocked. In the midst of cultivating, the Black Hell Demon Lord suddenly opened his eyes in shock. How did he find this place? He panicked. Although he was a rank 5 Immortal Emperor, he wasn't the Golden Crow Divine Emperor's match. The others also panicked. Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor was the first powerful enemy that Hanju could not defeat. He even forced them to flee. Hanju immediately sent a voice transmission to them, telling them to calm down and not leave the island. The Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor would definitely not discover them. Everyone felt relieved. They all knew Hanju's personality. If it was really dangerous, he would have run away without them urging. Hanju suppressed his uneasiness and waited. This was actually good. The Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor would not come again after searching this area. The sharp cry lasted for a while before finally stopping, and the Golden Crow Divine Emperor's aura also completely dissipated. Hanju showed a frown. This fellow was too difficult to deal with. It seemed that the Golden Crow Divine Emperor would not rest until he killed him. If one day, the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor really came knocking on his door, it would be too late for Hanju to hide. Detected that you are in an unprecedented crisis. You have the following choices. 1. Immediately ascend and head to the immortal world. Enter the calamity and fight for Providence. You can obtain a great Tao fragment and a mystical power inheritance. 2. Don't ascend for the time being. Cultivate in a low-profile manner and wait for the opportunity. You can obtain a great Tao fragment and a random natural treasure. Hanju raised his eyebrows when he saw 3 lines of words appear in front of him. He finally had a chance to choose. Although the reward wasn't generous, it was at least there. Hanju silently chose the second option. Congratulations on obtaining a natural treasure Bujo Divine Flower. Bujo Divine Flower, a primordial treasure. Born on the legendary Bujo Divine Mountain. It seizes the essence of the world and can produce boundless connate chi. Hanju immediately took it out and planted it beside the 9 Heavens Galaxy water. The 9 Heavens Galaxy water still emitted immortal chi, but it could no longer show the situation of the Son of Heaven and Earth. Master, this is? Tao Comprehension Sword asked curiously. Hanju gave a simple introduction. He didn't know what connate chi was, so he was looking forward to it. It should be greater than immortal chi, right? After planting the Bujo Divine Flower, Hanju didn't cultivate immediately but waited patiently. After half a month, after confirming that the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor had left, he heaved a sigh of relief and cultivated in peace. Time passed. About 8 years passed. The Bujo Divine Flower finally produced connate chi. Furthermore, there was quite a bit. It directly erupted and filled the connate cave abode. Tao Comprehension Sword sensed something and opened her eyes in surprise. Hanju was shocked. This connate chi was so powerful. The increase in cultivation he obtained from taking a breath was equivalent to 10 breaths of immortal chi. Most importantly, connate chi was purer and of higher quality than immortal chi. This time, Hanju had another way to increase his cultivation speed. He continued cultivating and started to absorb the connate chi. However, his chi absorption speed was too fast. The Bujo Divine Flower couldn't keep up. It still needed to grow for a while. Hanju wasn't disappointed. At least, there was more hope. Divine Palace, in a dark prison palace. Zhang Guxing sat on the ground, with countless sword shadows circling around him. He wore a tattered white robe and his hair was messy, but his expression was calm. He had the temperament of being composed in any situation. Outside the prison door, a figure walked out of the darkness. It was a man in a luxurious robe. He played with a jade ring in his hand as he stared at Zhang Guxing with jealousy. Have you made another breakthrough recently? The robed man asked with a smile. Zhang Guxing did not answer. The robed man continued, the divine palace and the demon court have been at war for many years. The palace master left not long ago. In the future, I will control the divine palace. How do you think I should torture you? He was Yu Tianbao, who had a grudge with Zhang Guxing. Zhang Guxing replied, your methods can't make me give in. You will only torture my body and soul. You won't be able to destroy my Tao heart. As long as I don't die, you won't be able to eat or sleep in peace. Because you know that once I leave, you will be finished. Yu Tianbao's expression darkened. This was indeed what he was most worried about. He had long wanted to kill Zhang Guxing, but there was someone above him. Even if Zhang Guxing had caused a calamity, some people still protected him from death. Yu Tianbao suddenly sneered, what if I destroy the Sword Dao River? Zhang Guxing's expression changed. I've always been curious about your relationship with the Sword Dao River. What can make you abandon your body to guard it? Yu Tianbao asked with interest. Zhang Guxing was silent. Seeing his silent attitude, Yu Tianbao was very angry. Great, he was definitely going to destroy the Sword Dao River. 40 years later, Hanju finally broke through to the rank 3 reincarnation immortal emperor realm. His dharmic powers soared and his soul transformed, becoming even stronger. After spending 3 years consolidating his cultivation, Hanju immediately started the simulation trial. Although he couldn't defeat the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor when he was a rank 2 Immortal Emperor, at least he wouldn't be insta-killed. After reaching the rank 3 Reincarnation Immortal Emperor realm, Hanju did not believe that he would still be killed. 2 hours later, Hanju opened his eyes and frowned. After fighting for 2 hours, although the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor could not kill him, he didn't injure the other party either. No way, Hanju decided to start creating a new Sword Dao mystical power. Unlike the heavenly Sword Dao, he wanted to create an ultimate explosive mystical power that could instantly kill the Golden Crow Divine Emperor. Chapter 286 Unparalleled Sword Chi, the person to face the calamity shocks the heavens. Chapter 286 Unparalleled Sword Chi, the person to face the calamity shocks the heavens. Hanju began to comprehend the Sword Dao. With the Destiny Sword Chi Great Wheel and the Heavenly Sword Dao as the foundation, he prepared to create an extremely explosive mystical power. His current goal was to insta-kill the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. If he didn't kill this fellow, Hanju wouldn't be able to eat or sleep in peace. With his top-notch Sword Dao potential and comprehension of the Sword Dao, Hanju quickly meditated, and his consciousness entered a mysterious state. The Destiny Sword Chi Great Wheel could cut through fate and karma. The Heavenly Sword Dao could also do the same. The former had control, while the latter had explosive power. If they could combine and control the enemy, making them unable to move, it was almost certain that they would be insta-killed. About half a year later, Hanju's consciousness came to the Sword Dao River. This time, he wanted to comprehend the mystical power, so he followed the crowd of predecessors. When Liu Bei saw him, he immediately stood up and bowed. Hanju ignored him. Seeing this, Liu Bei understood that his main body was here to cultivate, so he did not disturb him. As he advanced, Hanju passed through Eternal, Grand Unity, and Emperor Realm. Hanju was no longer the same as before. He still didn't feel any pressure. His confidence soared. This must be strong enough to kill that stupid bird. Hanju thought silently and started to walk faster. 100 steps. 1,000 steps. There was no longer anyone around Hanju. He walked forward alone as his surroundings turned pitch black. There was only a long staircase formed by sword light beneath his feet that stretched to the end. Gradually, Hanju felt the pressure. With each step forward, the pressure on his body multiplied. For some reason, the nebulous primordial chi in his body began to churn. The billions of stars in the primordial world emitted strong light, and the reroll world was drowned by it. At this moment, the vision of countless living beings in the reroll world was enveloped by strong light, causing them all to be unable to see and the world to be in chaos. The white-robed Buddha was frightened, but he felt Hanju's aura and was relieved. Although he didn't know what Hanju was doing, he would never harm the reroll world. After another few hundred steps, Hanju finally couldn't withstand the pressure. The immense pressure made him feel dizzy and his vision blurred. He vaguely saw the back of a figure appear in front of him holding a long sword and standing at the end of the Sword Dao River as if he was the guardian. Before Hanju could think further, he was expelled by the Sword Dao River. In a daze, his consciousness returned to his body. A huge amount of memories surged into his mind, almost catching up to the memory impact when he had comprehended the primordial chaos reincarnation Great Tao. At the same time, the sky of the immortal world and the myriad worlds were filled with purple light. It was the same for the reroll world. When everyone could see again, they were immediately attracted by the purple light in the sky. Everyone was in an uproar. Immortal world, above the 9 heavens. The master of the divine palace walked on the cloud court with dozens of disciples behind him. He couldn't help but frown when purple light suddenly appeared in the sky. This is the aura of the deity realm. No, someone is comprehending a deity realm mystical power. The master of the divine palace muttered with a solemn expression. He sensed that the other party was not from the divine palace or the immortal world. Instead, netherworld. Could it be that the netherworld was also about to enter the calamity? A disciple couldn't help but ask, "Palace master, what does this mean?" The master of the divine palace said, "He might be the person meant to face the calamity." The person meant to face the calamity? All the disciples were shocked. The immeasurable calamity had already begun, but the person facing the calamity had yet to appear. Many even thought that the demon emperor was the person facing the calamity. The master of the divine palace had a solemn expression. The current demon court was unstoppable, but they had no one who could face the calamity. What did this mean? He didn't dare to think about it. Demon court, demon emperor palace. In the midst of meditating, the demon emperor suddenly opened his eyes and frowned at the purple firmament outside the hall. He had also deduced that someone was comprehending a mystical power and that it came from the netherworld, but he couldn't guess who it was. Very good, netherworld, it seems that you also want to interfere, the demon emperor muttered. Now that the demon court was flourishing and the netherworld had a sudden movement, the pressure on the demon emperor naturally increased. The demon court seemed to be fighting against the heavenly court, the Buddhist sect, and the divine palace alone, but in fact, it was extremely difficult and could collapse at any moment. The various ancient races were all ambitious. If the demon emperor wasn't careful, he might be abandoned by them. The demon emperor couldn't sit still. He stood up and quickly left the hall. The phenomenon caused by Hanju alerted the various major forces in the immortal world. However, because the Tao field isolated them and Hanju cultivated a karma mystical power, no one guessed that it was him. After a long time, Hanju woke up and slowly opened his eyes, causing a terrifying light to burst out. What a domineering mystical power. Wonderful. Detected that this is your first time creating a deity realm mystical power. You have the following choices: smiley face. 1. Immediately ascend and use this mystical power to stun the immortal world. You can obtain a mystical power inheritance. 2. Cultivate in a low-profile manner and stay away from trouble. You can obtain a supreme treasure. Hanju chose the second option without hesitation. Congratulations on obtaining the Emperor Tao Supreme Treasure Golden Seal Domain Blood Belt. Golden Seal Domain Blood Belt, Defensive Emperor Tao Supreme Treasure. It automatically absorbs heaven and earth chi. When its owner is attacked, it can automatically defend against attacks. It can withstand the full-powered attack of a rank 9 immortal emperor at best. Defensive Supreme Treasure. Awesome. Hanju smiled in satisfaction and touched his chin in thought. Let's call it unparalleled sword chi. Hanju smiled very satisfied and felt that he was a genius at naming. Tao Comprehension Sword couldn't help but ask, what's unparalleled sword chi? A mystical power. Yes. How is the name? Ordinary. What? It's too good. Hanju snorted and started the simulation trial against the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. 10 minutes later, Hanju opened his eyes and frowned. Although this mystical power was powerful, it couldn't instantly kill the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. The reason was that the difference in cultivation realm was too great. However, Hanju could still kill the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor by constantly using unparalleled sword chi. But the problem was, 10 minutes was too long. Hanju looked pained. No, this was a failure. Hanju decided to continue comprehending the mystical power and raise all the other Sword Tao mystical powers to their current limits. In the next 4 years, phenomena of purple clouds filling the sky appeared in the myriad worlds. Everyone realized that the person facing the calamity was coming. Furthermore, this person was extremely powerful. To be able to easily create a deity realm mystical power, he was definitely an invincible existence among the deity realm. The demon court was frightened, and their attacks were no longer as ferocious. The divine palace and Buddhist sect no longer dared to attack the demon court. Instead, the heavenly court heaved a sigh of relief. After all, the demon court had bitten them the most. For a time, the gazes of all the worlds fell on the netherworld. The person facing the calamity was in the netherworld. Inside the Conate cave abode. Hanju opened his eyes with a painful expression. He had already reached his limit, but it would still take him a few minutes to kill the Golden Crow Divine Emperor. What should he do? Too many things would happen in a few minutes. Perhaps the old monsters of the Golden Crow race would come to help. Forget it, forget it. I'll cultivate first and curse him occasionally to reduce his cultivation, Hanju thought silently, feeling helpless. Chapter 287 Fusang Tree becomes a spirit, suppressing the person to face the calamity. Chapter 287 Fusang Tree becomes a spirit, suppressing the person to face the calamity. 10 years later, Hanju's cultivation ended again. He took out the Book of Misfortune and started to entertain the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. This fellow still didn't leave the netherworld. From time to time, everyone from the hidden sect could hear the cries of the Golden Crows in the distance. It seemed that the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor had guessed that Hanju was hiding in the netherworld and wanted to capture him. Hanju cursed as he checked his emails regularly. Your grand disciple Fang Liang was attacked by demons x 106,521, your good friend Ji Shanshan was attacked by the immortal emperor of the netherworld and was severely injured. Your good friend Heavenly Emperor has awakened his Tao heart. His cultivation has increased greatly and he has broken through the restriction. Your good friend Huang Jihao was attacked by an immortal god and was severely injured. Fortunately, your enemy Li Xuanao saved him. Your disciple Tu Ling dreamed of traveling the primordial world and obtained the ancestral Magus's teachings. Your good friend Zhang Yi has reconstructed his body. His bloodline has transformed and his cultivation has increased greatly. Because of your curse, your enemy Golden Rock Demon Lord has fallen to the Grand Unity Golden Immortal Realm. Your good friend Mozu coincidentally obtained an ancient treasure. Hanju continued reading and felt that his circle of friends had been developing well recently. The Heavenly Emperor fought his way out. At least the Heavenly Court wouldn't collapse now. After Tu Ling obtained the ancestral Magus inheritance, her strength soared. What made him the happiest was that Golden Rock Demon Lord had been cursed to the point of losing his Emperor realm. It seemed that the Immortal Emperor realm was not very stable. He wanted the Golden Crow Divine Emperor to suffer the same fate. A month later, Hanju walked out of the Conate Cave abode and came to the Fusang Tree. Xuan Chang'an, Su Qi, Tu Ling Long Hao, the Three-Headed Worm King, the Black Hell Chicken, the Chaotic Heavenly Dog, Li Yao, Marong Qi, Chu Shiren, Zhou Mingyu, the Black Hell Demon Lord, Ada, Showerer, the Gourd Brothers, and the other Black Hell Phoenixes were all cultivating. Ever since the arrival of the Black Hell Phoenixes, the Black Hell Chicken was not as noisy as before. It even became a little quiet. Perhaps there were internal conflicts in the Black Hell Phoenix clan, but Hanju couldn't be bothered unless the Black Hell Chicken took the initiative to look for him. Standing in front of the Fusang Tree, Hanju used his divine sense to penetrate it. Ever since he had moved here, the Fusang Tree had grown much faster. The main trunk had clearly become thicker and had grown many branches. Hanju still remembered the introduction of the Fusang Tree. The Heaven and Earth Divine Tree could increase the spirit chi of heaven and earth. It could attract the Golden Crows for 10,000 years and connect to other worlds in 1,000,000 years. However, the Fusang Tree had attracted the Golden Crow in less than 1,000 years. Perhaps it wouldn't take that long to connect to other worlds. Not to mention that the Earth Immortal Gourd Vine had nurtured it and its growth had been accelerating. Hanju looked forward to the Fusang Tree connecting to other worlds. This way, if he encountered a powerful enemy that he couldn't defeat, he could escape at any time. Master, I want to return to the Heavenly Court. A voice came from the side. Hanju glanced over and saw that it was Long Hao. He had already grown up and looked very similar to the Heavenly Emperor, but he was far from bold. Hanju said, "It's very dangerous outside." Long Hao took a deep breath and said, "I've been summoned by my father. The Heavenly Court needs me." The Heavenly Emperor's summoning. Hanju was speechless. After all, Long Hao was the son of the Heavenly Emperor. He was only adopted here and had no right to force him to stay. "Do you really want to go back?" Hanju thought for a moment and asked again. Long Hao nodded and said seriously, "Yes, master." He was born to be a supreme being and dominate everything. He had been hiding and cultivating for a long time. Previously, he had not been summoned by the Heavenly Emperor, so he could only endure. He had always been looking forward to the Heavenly Emperor's approval. Hanju grabbed Long Hao's shoulder and brought him out of the netherworld into the void. Without waiting for him to speak, Hanju disappeared first. Long Hao hurriedly bowed and called out a few times, but Hanju didn't reply. For some reason, Long Hao felt inexplicably regretful. "No, I can't be like a child. I can't let master down." Long Hao clenched his fists and left. After returning to the Fusang Tree, as soon as Hanju appeared, the disciples surrounded him. "Master, Hao left. Sect Master, did something happen to the Heavenly Court?" Even the son of the Heavenly Emperor was issued an edict. It seems like there's no one left. Is there something wrong with Longhao's brain? It's so dangerous outside. Ha ha ha, when he returns, we will definitely have surpassed him. The chaotic heavenly dog asked, are you making a dig at me? Hanju had a headache from all the disciples, so he waved his hand and moved everyone away from him. He continued to observe the fusang tree. The disciples of the hidden sect walked far away and continued discussing. After a long time, Hanju opened his eyes, looking surprised. The fusang tree seemed to have developed a hint of intelligence. This trace of intelligence was very weak and special. It was like a living thing flowing quickly in the tree to avoid Hanju. Unfortunately, it was still discovered by him. The fusang tree was about to become a spirit. Hanju thought for a moment and decided to let the fusang tree's intelligence grow. Any divine item would give birth to its own intelligence, just like the ancient spiritual ginseng Shuan Cheng'an and the heaven and earth grass Dao comprehension sword. Perhaps the fusang tree could become an important battle force to protect the cultivate diligently become immortal mountain in the future. Hanju smiled and returned to the Konate cave abode to continue cultivating. In the netherworld, Saitagarbha Palace. Ji Shanshan's 4 limbs were tied up by 4 huge chains. His body was pulled into the air. Black lightning landed on his body crazily, destroying his physique. However, he didn't grunt in pain even as his skin and flesh were torn apart. He stared ahead. A fat monk was sitting on a lotus throne. The fat monk wore a kasaya and had a benevolent expression. He held a circle of Buddhist beads in his hand and muttered a mysterious Buddhist scripture. Strands of strange green smoke filled the palace. Sometimes, they transformed into demons and ghosts, sometimes into gods and Buddhas. It was like a dream. Finally, Ji Shanshan couldn't help but say, how long are you going to torture me? I've already said it, I'm not the one who will face the calamity. I've never thought of overturning the myriad worlds. He was really depressed. He had failed to snatch the divine weapon. Saitagarbha had originally let him go, but for some reason, he suddenly hunted him down and suppressed him again. Most importantly, Saitagarbha said he would harm the myriad worlds, so he wanted to suppress him. Saitagarbha said calmly, the person meant to face the calamity will never think of himself as that person. Then, what makes you so sure that I am him? The divine palace, the demon court, the heavenly court, and the Buddhist sect all say that the person facing the calamity is in the netherworld and has even comprehended a mystical power from time to time. Isn't that you? Is it wrong for me to comprehend a mystical power? Amitabha. Ji Shanshan was furious. How unreasonable, this guy was not listening. Ji Shanshan gritted his teeth and asked, what can I do to make you let me go? Saitagarbha said, Amitabha, I'm willing to sacrifice myself for the common people and suppress you forever. You. Saitagarbha closed his eyes and continued reciting the scriptures. Ji Xian was so angry that he spat out blood. Don't panic, I'll go ask for help. A voice sounded in Ji Shanshan's ears. Immediately after, a wisp of black smoke quickly flew out of his body. Sensing something, Saitagarbha suddenly opened his eyes and shouted in a low voice, Devil Race. Chapter 288 Demon Court, Lu Bu. Chapter 288 Demon Court, Lu Bu. So you actually have the help of the Devil Race. You dare say you're not the one who will face the calamity? Saitagarbha shouted. He immediately struck out with his palm at Ji Shanshan. In an instant, countless black lightning transformed into sharp whips that lashed at him. This time, even Ji Shanshan's soul felt an indescribable pain. Ah! Ji Shanshan wailed in pain. His eyes were red as he looked at Saitagarbha with hatred. If he could kill his way out in the future, he would definitely destroy this Saitagarbha palace. Saitagarbha's eyes were filled with worry. It was truly unfortunate for the heavenly Tao that such a vile devil had appeared. Time passed slowly. 20 years had passed since Longhao left. After Hanju broke through to the rank 3 Immortal Emperor realm, his cultivation level had improved again. The time he used to kill the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor was also constantly decreasing. However, he was still far from insta-killing him. On this day, Hanju had just finished cursing the enemy when he took out the Heavenly Tao token and checked the Heavenly Tao tablet. He had thought that the reroll world's ranking would increase again, but he did not expect it to fall outside of the top 300. This was ridiculous. Wasn't the reroll world always becoming stronger? Hanju looked down carefully and discovered that the number of mortal worlds that originally numbered close to 10,000 had increased to 20,000. Why were there so many? Finding it strange, Hanju immediately took out the Heavenly Tao token to contact Di Teibai. Soon, Di Teibai established a divine sense connection with him. Didn't the Heavenly Court say that they wanted to give up the mortal worlds? Not only the Heavenly Court, but all the various powers in the immortal world, including the ancient races and hidden families, have all released their mortal worlds. Now, all the mortal worlds are controlled by the heavenly Tao of the immortal world. This ranking is no longer just the heavenly court's mortal worlds, but the rankings of the myriad worlds in the universe, Tabai replied helplessly. In other words, the mortal world guardian is no longer under the heavenly court's jurisdiction. You won't be protected by the providence of the heavenly court. If you're afraid of danger, you can abandon the reroll world and return to the heavenly court. I see. Hanju was enlightened. He didn't expect there to be so many mortal worlds. No wonder the heavenly court couldn't dominate the immortal world and only controlled half of the mortal worlds. Hanju didn't promise Tabai to go to the heavenly court. When he asked him where he was, he only said that he was hiding somewhere and didn't dare to come out. He had warned Long Hao not to spread the news of them being in the netherworld. With Long Hao's favorability towards him, he should not say it. Tabai clearly spoke more than before. He told Hanju much about the current situation of the heavenly court. There were internal and external troubles. The continuous losses caused the morale of the heavenly court to fall. With the arrival of the calamity, many immortals were like Hanju. They wanted to escape and return to their own sects, races, or even the sacred dynasties. They wanted to stay away from the calamity. Fortunately, the heavenly emperor was domineering and suppressed these inappropriate thoughts. It was worth mentioning that the three great generals had all returned. The demon court couldn't break through the four heavenly gates. He chatted with Tabai for a while before severing his divine sense connection. Hanju put down the heavenly Tao token and fell into deep thought. Now, the reroll world completely belonged to him and had nothing to do with the heavenly court. This was a good thing. Previously, he had been worried that the heavenly court would join the calamity and the providence would affect the reroll world. No wonder the white-robed Buddha wanted to turn the reroll world into a second immortal world. Perhaps it was really possible. Hanju stood up and walked to the nine heavens galaxy water. The Bujo divine flower had already grown to the height of a small tree. It was taller than the surrounding resurrection lily. The Kone chi it gave birth to was richer than before, but it was far from enough for him to cultivate. Hanju was debating if he should fuse the nine heavens galaxy water with the Bujo divine flower. At this point, the immortal chi of the nine heavens galaxy water was nothing to Hanju. There was no point in keeping it. Just as he was thinking, a voice sounded in his mind. Master, bad news. A powerful enemy wants to seize the Sword Dao River. Liu Bei sounded extremely nervous. Hanju frowned after hearing that. Why was there a powerful enemy again? Why was nothing wrong when Zhang Guxing was presiding over it? Does the heavenly Dao want to harm me again? The Sword Dao River. Liu Bei looked at a figure in the distance. It was the Divine Palace's Yu Tianbao. Yu Tianbao strolled around and looked at the Sword Dao River. Tisk tisk, no wonder Zhang Guxing is guarding this place. This place contains the rules of the Sword Dao and can increase one's comprehension of the Sword Dao, Yu Tianbao praised. He turned to look at Liu Bei and said, have you thought about it? Submit to me as your master. Otherwise, you will die. Liu Bei gritted his teeth and said, let me think about it. What's there to think about? Are you stalling for time? Don't worry, no one can save you. I've already captured the previous guardian of the Sword Dao River. You're a latecomer, and you don't have a powerful background. Liu Bei was silent and anxious. At this moment, a figure appeared beside Liu Bei. It was Hanju. This time, he didn't come with his consciousness. Instead, he directly jumped into the Sword Dao River. With so many treasures on him, the other party would definitely not be able to hurt him. If it was only his soul or consciousness, he might be severely injured or even captured. Hanju looked at Yu Tianbao. He couldn't see through the guy's cultivation, but it didn't give him a sense of danger. From the looks of it, his cultivation shouldn't be too different from the Black Hell Demon Lord's. Yu Tianbao frowned when he saw him. What a handsome man, grand unity true immortal. No, this fellow was actually wearing an Emperor Dao treasure. Yu Tianbao asked cautiously, who are you? Hanju said indifferently, Demon Court, Liu Bu. An immortal emperor of the Demon Court. Yu Tianbao frowned even harder as killing intent surged in his heart. The Divine Palace and the Demon Court were mortal enemies. There was nothing to say. Fight! Yu Tianbao was about to attack when the primordial judgment sword suddenly appeared in Hanju's hand and slashed at him. Bastard! You actually attacked first. Yu Tianbao cursed silently and immediately raised his hand to block. The terrifying dharmic powers of an immortal emperor condensed into a huge barrier, causing the surrounding space of the Sword Dao River to twist violently. A terrifying sword chi collided with Yu Tianbao. With a boom, his dharmic powers barrier instantly dissipated and he was sent flying. The figures walking on the Sword Dao River vanished. The Sword Dao River surged violently as if it would dissipate at any moment. Yu Tianbao stabilized himself and looked at Han Ju in shock. What sword chi was this? It looked ordinary, but it could actually injure his Emperor Dao soul. No, run. Yu Tianbao vanished on the spot. Han Ju followed. Since he had encountered an enemy, how could he let him go? The sword chi just now was still on Yu Tianbao. Han Ju could track him. Yu Tianbao moved continuously, appearing and disappearing in the void. Damn it, how many immortal emperors is the demon court hiding? He gritted his teeth and cursed. Lu Bu. Great, I'll remember you. Yu Tianbao's heart was filled with killing intent. No wonder Zhang Guxing was fearless. He had long hooked up with the demon court. Your Majesty, he's here. A pleasantly surprised voice sounded, startling Yu Tianbao so much that he subconsciously stopped. As soon as he did, his heart skipped a beat. Crap. Isn't that Lu Bu's voice? How could the demon emperor appear here? Yu Tianbao almost instinctively took out a pagoda and entered it. Chapter 289 First Disciple of the Human School, Perfect Sword Immortal. Chapter 289 First Disciple of the Human School, Perfect Sword Immortal. Han Ju appeared in front of Yu Tianbao's pagoda and immediately took out the God Slayer sword, the Heaven and Earth Primordial Sword, the 9 Elements 10,000 Life Sword, and the Primordial Judgment Sword. Then, he used the Immortal Slaying Sword formation to seal the pagoda, preventing Yu Tianbao from escaping. Yu Tianbao's voice came from the pagoda, Lu Bu, do you really want to kill me? I'm the Divine Palace's Yu Tianbao, the acting palace master. If you kill me, the palace master will definitely not spare you. Han Ju said angrily, our demon court suppressed the Divine Palace, the Heavenly Court, and the Buddhist sect. How can we be afraid of the master of the Divine Palace? Are you serious, Yu Tianbao almost died of anger. Too arrogant. If not for the fact that he couldn't defeat the other party, he would definitely tear him into pieces and destroy his body and soul. Han Ju remained silent. Yu Tianbao also fell silent. The atmosphere became strange. When the Immortal Slaying Sword formation was completed, Han Ju began to attack the pagoda without a word. Sword chi and sword formation techniques bombarded the pagoda, but it was indestructible. It was only shaken and did not shatter. Inside the pagoda, Yu Tianbao was casting a spell to seek help. Damn demon court. Yu Tianbao cursed anxiously. The immeasurable calamity had already begun. As the slaughter in the immortal world unfolded, the negative karma of the world increased and blinded the heavenly secrets, causing him to be unable to directly contact the master of the Divine Palace. What should he do? I can't panic. He can't break through my pagoda. Yu Tianbao's mood improved. Boom. The pagoda shattered, and the darkness in the void began to devour his vision. Yu Tianbao's eyes widened in horror. How is that possible? This is an Emperor Dao Supreme Treasure. Han Ju appeared and said disdainfully, so what if it's an Emperor Dao Supreme Treasure? I used a deity realm mystical power. Han Ju waved his sleeve, and the Immortal Slaying Sword formation continued to erupt. A terrifying sword chi wreaked havoc in the sword formation. Yu Tianbao didn't have time to say anything or beg for mercy and could only defend passively. Unfortunately, he was only a rank 5 immortal emperor and could not withstand it. In less than 2 breaths of time, Yu Tianbao's body and soul were destroyed. Before he died, he shouted venomously, Lu Bu, just you wait. I won't rest until I take revenge. Yu Tianbao has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, 6 stars. This line of words appeared in front of Han Ju. He frowned slightly. Could it be that this fellow had a soul fragment in the Divine Palace to protect himself? HMPH. Do you think you can live in peace? Han Ju smiled disdainfully and sheathed his sword, preparing to leave. Just as he turned around, he felt a terrifying aura lock onto him. Even as a rank 3 immortal emperor, Han Ju couldn't help but shiver. Oh no, could it be the master of the Divine Palace? Han Ju immediately moved and disappeared. However, no matter where he ran, that terrifying aura was always locked onto him. At this moment, he could feel the shadow in Yu Tianbao's mind. Stop running, I won't kill you. A gentle voice sounded. Han Ju immediately stopped. Since the other party had already said so, he could only listen to it to avoid provoking him. Han Ju looked around cautiously. Then, a figure appeared in front of him. It was a man in a green robe with a sword at his waist. The green-robed man sized him up and asked teasingly, how do you know the heavenly sword Dao? Han Ju was secretly shocked and didn't know how to answer. The heavenly emperor taught you? The green-robed man asked with a smile. Don't be nervous. I taught the heavenly sword Dao to the heavenly emperor. In the heavenly court, only Di Tabai has inherited it. However, his sword Dao is very weak. In addition, he had once sacrificed his sword immortal Dao fruit for the heavenly court. It's impossible for him to teach the heavenly sword Dao to others. It can only be the heavenly emperor. Li Daokong has a favorable impression of you. Current favorability, 1 star. Han Ju saw a notification appear in front of him and hurriedly checked his interpersonal relationships. Li Daokong, cultivation unknown. Eldest disciple of the human school, immeasurable emperor, perfect sword immortal, successor of the Dao ancestor. He has inherited all the orthodoxies of the 3 schools of the Dao sect. Because you have grasped the heavenly sword Dao, he is interested in you. Current favorability, 1 star. The eldest disciple of the human school. Han Ju frowned. Wasn't that Li Xuanao's senior brother? Li Xuanao dug out the chaotic heavenly dog's eyes. Han Ju always remembered to curse once every 10 years. The 2 successors of the human school would live and die together. Li Daokong would definitely stand on the same side as Li Xuanao, so Han Ju wasn't misled by a 1-star favorability. He said, that's right. The heavenly emperor taught me. I guard the sword Dao river. Just now, that person wanted to forcefully occupy it and even wanted to kill me. He noticed that Li Daokong was a perfect sword immortal and probably had special feelings for the sword Dao. Perhaps he could use this reason to resolve the possible conflicts. Li Daokong sized him up and smiled. Have you acknowledged the heavenly emperor as your master? Han Ju shook his head. Then be my disciple, Li Daokong said with a burning gaze. Han Ju was stunned. This change was too fast. Li Daokong smiled. If you acknowledge me as your master, you don't have to be afraid that the divine palace will find trouble with you. Han Ju raised his eyebrows. So powerful, you're stronger than the heavenly emperor. You have greater authority and power. I don't dare to say that I'm invincible in the world, but I'm not afraid of anyone. As for power, although I don't have a domineering force like the heavenly court, I alone possess the greatest power. Li Daokong's tone was neither arrogant nor humble. These words sounded especially pretentious in Han Ju's ears. However, when he thought of Li Daokong's background, the eldest disciple of the human school, immeasurable emperor, perfect sword immortal, the successor of the Dao ancestor, he had all the inheritances of the 3 schools of the Dao sect. Indeed, he looked even more impressive than the heavenly emperor. However, when he thought of how Li Daokong's junior brother had gouged out the chaotic heavenly dog's eyes, he still felt disgusted. Han Ju asked cautiously, am I not allowed to refuse? Li Daokong shook his head and laughed. I've never forced anyone other than my junior brother. If you refuse, then forget it. With that, he turned around and left. Han Ju remained silent. After Li Daokong vanished, he heaved a sigh of relief. This person was very strong, but he didn't want to cause trouble. Han Ju was about to leave when Li Daokong suddenly appeared in front of him and snorted. HMPH, you're really not tempted. Han Ju, Li Daokong said, the immeasurable calamity has already begun. If you acknowledge me as your master, I can protect you from it. How can you protect me? We'll talk about it after you acknowledge me as your master. No discussion. This is not a discussion. My identity is not simple. After you acknowledge me as your master, you will be pleasantly surprised. Han Ju couldn't help but retort internally, I already know your identity. Li Daokong smiled as he cursed in his heart. This brat actually dares to reject me. However, for him to be able to master the immortal slaying sword formation, his potential in the sword Dao is truly rare. It would be a pity if he died in the calamity. It would be even more of a pity if the divine palace poached him. Li Daokong stared at him and continued, I can teach you a stronger sword Dao. It's a Dao attainment method even for the deity realm and even zenith heaven. Han Ju couldn't take it anymore. He asked, if I acknowledge you as my master, will I be assigned work? Li Daokong shook his head. Of course not, I just want to preach the Dao. Han Ju said, the heavenly emperor has treated me well. I have to ask him about this. He deliberately emphasized the words, heavenly emperor. Chapter 290 Heavenly Emperor vs Li Daokong, Possession of the Immortal Emperor's Body. Chapter 290 Heavenly Emperor vs Li Daokong, Possession of the Immortal Emperor's Body. I have a good relationship with the Heavenly Emperor. He won't stop me. Li Daokong smiled confidently. In the myriad worlds, who could refuse to become his disciple? Han Ju remained silent. He was anxious. Why hadn't the Heavenly Emperor appeared yet? Didn't he escape? Li Daokong smiled. I obtained great providence in the last immeasurable calamity and already have the experience to deal with it. As for the sword Dao, no one in the immortal world can compare to me. How arrogant. Hanju couldn't take it anymore. This person was too confident. Hanju felt like this was a powerful version of Ji Shanshan. At this moment, a voice sounded, Li Daokong, you even dare to poach my talent. The Heavenly Emperor. Hanju was pleasantly surprised and relieved. A figure appeared in front of him. It was the Heavenly Emperor. The Heavenly Emperor stood in front of Hanju and smiled at Li Daokong. Li Daokong raised his eyebrows and instantly understood that Hanju had an extraordinary relationship with the Heavenly Emperor. Thinking of something, he asked with a smile, could he be the future of the Heavenly Court that your Majesty mentioned? The Heavenly Emperor nodded. Hanju had a strange expression. Did they really know each other? It seemed that they were close and had even talked about him. Hanju also understood the implied meaning. The Heavenly Emperor really thought highly of him. Thinking about it carefully, every time he looked for the Heavenly Emperor, he was always there. Only once was he not there. That was when he was suppressed. He could look for the Heavenly Emperor when he was in trouble. The Heavenly Emperor never rejected him. On the contrary, he couldn't help the Heavenly Emperor resolve his problem. Hanju could only sigh in his heart. Emotions were always the greatest obstacle on the path of Tao attainment. If I attain the Tao in the future, I will definitely repay the Heavenly Emperor, Hanju thought silently. The Heavenly Emperor said, this child is mine. This was a rejection on Hanju's behalf. Li Daokong smiled. It's fine, him becoming my disciple doesn't conflict with him being part of the Heavenly Court. Aren't there also many disciples of the Tao sect in the Heavenly Court? Doesn't His Majesty also want to pull me into the court? The Heavenly Emperor fell silent. He turned to look at Hanju, who felt his heart skip a beat. Was the Heavenly Emperor? The Heavenly Emperor turned around and smiled. When he really wants to acknowledge you as his master, I will personally send him to your door. This child has a cautious personality and is timid. Just joining the Heavenly Court had already scared him greatly. If he takes on the identity of the successor of the human school, I'm afraid he won't be able to cultivate in peace. Li Daokong looked at Hanju and shook his head. If you think it through in the future, you can look for me. With that, he left. Hanju heaved a sigh of relief. The Heavenly Emperor still had the upper hand. The Heavenly Emperor turned to look at him and smiled teasingly. Tisk tisk, you actually rejected Li Daokong. This person will definitely become a zenith heaven in this calamity. It's not impossible for him to surpass me in the future. Hanju asked in surprise, isn't the immeasurable calamity extremely dangerous? Can anyone really survive it with certainty? Of course not, but with Li Daokong's potential, he's 90% confident. Only 90%, Hanju was secretly shocked. As expected, he couldn't enter the calamity. 90% confidence meant that there was a possibility he might die. Li Daokong was so arrogant. If he followed him, he would definitely be beaten. Hanju asked, who's stronger between Li Daokong and Li Xuanao? Of course, it's Li Daokong. Li Daokong already has the strength equivalent to a zenith heaven cultivator. Li Xuanao is only invincible in the deity realm. The Heavenly Emperor clearly respected Li Daokong. Hanju knew that this was bad. The chances of finding Li Xuanao to avenge the chaotic heavenly dog were slim. Even if he cursed him, it was probably impossible. The Heavenly Emperor asked, are you staying in the netherworld now? Be careful. Recently, the immortal world has been spreading rumors that the person facing the calamity is there. He might slaughter his way out and ascend to the heavens step by step. Hanju was shocked after hearing this. He was in the netherworld. This was not good. Hanju said, thank you for your reminder, Your Majesty. I will be careful. Changing the topic, he asked, how's Howard? Long Hao had left for decades, and he had not received any news. There was also no news about him in the emails. The Heavenly Emperor smiled. His potential is not bad, all thanks to your nurturing. Don't worry, he's my youngest son, after all. How can I harm him? Hanju nodded. The two of them did not stand on ceremony for long and quickly parted. Hanju returned to the Sword Dao River and found Liu Bei. You're too weak. Come back with me, Hanju said seriously. He waved his sleeve and sucked him into his sleeve. Then, he jumped out of the Sword Dao River and headed to the netherworld. Immortal world, an immortal island in the seas. Huang Zuntian knelt on the beach as if he was welcoming someone. A beam of light flew over from the horizon, turning into a white crane with a wingspan of 100 feet. As it flapped its wings, colorful lights rippled. The white crane stopped in front of Huang Zuntian and asked, what do you have to say? Huang Zuntian said in a low voice, I discovered that the island master is colluding with the Chan school. The white crane narrowed his eyes, any evidence? Huang Zuntian replied, I discovered a keepsake in the island master's cave abode. As a disciple, how can you trespass the island master's cave abode? The white crane's tone immediately turned hostile, erupting with a terrifying aura. Huang Zuntian didn't panic at all. The Jia school once suffered a setback in the calamity. Now that the calamity has just begun, the island master has brought his disciples out to preach the Tao. It seems like he's working hard for the Jia school, but he's actually up to no good. I joined the Jia school because I want peace and quiet. The island master often preaches passionate words and wants to lead us into the calamity to fight, so I suspect him. Huang Zuntian had investigated. The Jia school had never really given the order to enter the calamity. It was just that some immortal islands wanted to contribute. The sect master of the Jia school had been in seclusion for countless years. He wasn't that strict with the control of the various immortal islands. This was also the reason why Huang Zuntian dared to take the risk. As for the evidence, the island master wouldn't leave it behind. What Huang Zuntian wanted to do was to plant psychological distrust in the minds of the mighty figures of the Jia school. The white crane narrowed its eyes and asked, do you think the Jia school should not fight for Providence? Huang Zuntian said, it's not that we shouldn't. It's just that it's not time yet. The disciples should listen to the sect master, not listen to the various island masters and let them do whatever they want. The white crane no longer spoke and fell silent. Huang Zuntian continued to kneel, waiting for a reply. The white crane suddenly opened its mouth and shot out a water arrow. It pierced through Huang Zuntian's head and he fell back. Inside the Konate cave abode, Tao comprehension sword looked at the victorious fighting Buddha meditating in the corner in surprise. To be precise, it was Liu Bei. Han Ju transferred the soul of the reincarnation avatar, Liu Bei, to the victorious fighting Buddha. Because the body of the victorious fighting Buddha was too powerful, Liu Bei could not control this immortal emperor body for the time being. Liu Bei was still suffering inside. Han Ju was cultivating. When Liu Bei was about to collapse, he would use his dharmic powers to nourish the avatar. Are you still alright? Tao comprehension sword couldn't help but ask. Liu Bei gritted his teeth and said, I can barely do it. The body of an immortal emperor is indeed powerful. It's trying to devour me. He had been threatened many times in the Sword Tao River, so he had always yearned for power. Although it was painful this time, he was looking forward to it. A notification suddenly appeared in front of Han Ju. Heavenly Tao Buddha has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, 4 stars. Chapter 291 Ascension, Talent of an Immortal Emperor. Chapter 291 Ascension, Talent of an Immortal Emperor. Heavenly Tao Buddha, Han Ju frowned. What was this? Why did he suddenly hate him? Han Ju immediately checked his interpersonal relationships and quickly found the Heavenly Tao Buddha. Heavenly Tao Buddha, cultivation unknown. Konate life form of the Heavenly Tao, immeasurable emperor, transformed from a corpse in the devil ancestor. He has obtained the providence of the Heavenly Tao. Because Liu Bei forcefully occupied the body of the victorious fighting Buddha, he has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, 4 stars. Han Ju frowned even more. He had actually been discovered by the Heavenly Tao Buddha. What should he do? Should he add him to the curse list? Han Ju thought for a moment and decided to curse in 10 years to avoid being suspected. There were Buddhist factions in the netherworld, so he had to be careful. Then, Han Ju closed his eyes and continued cultivating. After 57 years, Liu Bei finally succeeded in possessing the body of the victorious fighting Buddha. However, he was unable to unleash the body's full strength. Han Ju asked him to return to the Sword Tao River and guard it while adapting to the victorious fighting Buddha's physical strength. Han Ju wasn't worried that the Heavenly Tao Buddha would attack the Sword Tao River. Now that the immortal world was in chaos, how could the Buddhists have the time to care about this? Even if he really came, Liu Bei could still escape. Even if he couldn't escape, Han Ju would fight to avenge him in the future. Cough cough. That sounded heartless. After Liu Bei left, Han Ju took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing the Heavenly Tao Buddha. Cursed Dharma treasures weren't rare in the myriad worlds. The most powerful characteristic of the Book of Misfortune was that it could not be deduced as the real culprit. As long as the Heavenly Tao Buddha was cursed, he wouldn't have the time to retrieve the victorious fighting Buddha's body. Han Ju couldn't help but sigh. The Book of Misfortune was really a good treasure. He hadn't wasted all those Heavenly Tao Spirit Stones. If he had spent them on other Dharma treasures, how could he have been so carefree today? Han Ju admired his thinking. This was what it meant to kill enemies 1,000 miles away, to be on guard. Han Ju cursed as he checked his emails regularly. Your good friend Huang Zuntian has obtained the true teachings of the Jia school. His cultivation has increased greatly. Your good friend Huang Jihao was attacked by your good friend Li Daokong and was severely injured. Your good friend Li Daokong was attacked by your enemy Li Xuanao. Your grand disciple Fang Liang accidentally entered the dark forbidden zone. Your good friend Di Hongye was expelled by time. Your Dao companion Zan Qingjun was attacked by demons X14021. Your good friend Zhou Fan was attacked by demons X89743. Han Ju raised his eyebrows. Huang Zuntian had obtained the true teachings of the Jia school. Was he promoted? Wow, were Li Daokong and Li Xuanao in conflict with each other? What was this brat Fang Liang doing again? My Dao companion isn't cultivating properly and has also begun to involve herself. Han Ju thought silently. He sensed danger. The heavenly Dao had begun to make a move on him. His disciples, grand disciples, Dao companions, and good friends had entered the calamity to lure him into it. Impossible. Han Ju was secretly vigilant. He had to hurry up and become stronger so that he could protect the people around him in the future. Han Ju's eyes became firm. Immortal world, an immortal island. Dozens of Jia school disciples stood on the mountain peak and looked at the end of the sea. A white crane flew over, and a figure stood on its back. It was Huang Zuntian. Seeing the white crane flying over, the disciples knelt down. Greetings, Supremacy. Dozens of disciples shouted in unison. Their voices were loud and resounded throughout the immortal island. The white crane landed by the cliff, and Huang Zuntian followed. From today onwards, Huang Zuntian is the island master of Golden Crab Island. All disciples have to listen to him. If anyone disobeys, they will be expelled from the Jia school, the white crane slowly said with an unquestionable tone. Whoosh! The disciples were in an uproar. They all knew Huang Zuntian. He had joined the sect later than them and was considered their junior. Now, he had actually surpassed them and become the island master. Impossible. Wasn't this nonsense? Supremacy, he's only a grand unity heaven immortal. A disciple couldn't help but say. The white crane snorted. I'll teach him personally. This is the vice sect master's intention. I hope that the Jia school immortal island can follow the philosophy of the sect master and avoid the calamity. There's no room for discussion regarding this matter. Whoever dares to disrespect Huang Zuntian in the future will die. The moment the word, die, was spoken, the temperature suddenly plummeted. All the disciples felt a chill down their spines and did not dare to refute. Huang Zuntian's eyes flickered and he heaved a sigh of relief. He could cultivate in peace now. He had to cultivate diligently and not let that senior down. Thinking of Han Ju, Huang Zuntian was full of fighting spirit. 4 years later, Xing Hongshuan visited Han Ju, and Dao Comprehension Sword was chased out of the cave abode. She felt wronged. Have you really thought about it? Han Ju frowned. Xing Hongshuan nodded. She took a deep breath and tried her best to remain calm. If I reincarnate, will you abandon me? She decided to reincarnate and try for a good potential. She struggled for 100 years and finally made up her mind. It was only because the disciples of the hidden sect cultivated too quickly. Looking at her again, if not for the fact that she had encountered many opportunities, she was afraid. Han Ju said, I've already left a mark on you. No matter how many lifetimes you reincarnate, I can still find you. Xing Hongshuan asked, after reincarnation, will I still be myself? I can let you reincarnate with your memories. That's good. Han Ju sighed as he looked at her. Looking back at the beginning of their acquaintance, everything was like a dream. He had met Xing Hongshuan when he had just stepped into the cultivation path. He hadn't expected that after more than 3,000 years, the two of them would become physically intimate Dao companions. Xing Hongshuan suddenly leaned forward and smiled sweetly. Let me have some fun before I reincarnate. What do you want to do? Don't move. Don't resist me. Yes, lie down. Slow down. Yes. Several months later, Han Ju brought Xing Hongshuan's soul to the bridge of forgetfulness. He directly extracted her soul and let her die without any pain. There was still a long line of ghosts in front of the bridge of forgetfulness. All of them were numb and absent-minded, not the least bit angry. Han Ju sent a voice transmission to Meng Po, and the two of them met in the distance. Han Ju stated his intention. Meng Po frowned. This is against the reincarnation rules. Han Ju raised his eyebrows. You're telling me the rules now? Isn't Tulinger also? Han Ju said bluntly. Meng Po hurriedly interrupted him. This is not a problem. Han Ju nodded in satisfaction. Don't feed her your soup. Give her a good birth. She and Tulinger are both from the hidden sect. The better her potential is, the stronger the protection Tulinger will receive in the future. Meng Po was speechless. She could only agree helplessly. I'll send her to reincarnate first. Wait for me, Meng Po sighed. Han Ju immediately released Xing Hongshuan's soul and let Meng Po lead her to the bridge of forgetfulness. Xing Hongshuan turned around and looked at him reluctantly. Although she trusted Han Ju very much, she had no experience in reincarnation and was still very panicked. Han Ju watched her leave. This is the benefit of cultivation. The cycle of life and death is no longer so hopeless. Han Ju understood, and his eyes became more determined. About an hour passed. Meng Po returned. She was the first to speak. I let her be reincarnated into a sacred dynasty of the immortal world. Her potential is top-notch, and she might have a chance to become an immortal emperor. Surprised, Han Ju asked, with such a powerful potential, won't the sacred dynasty realize that she's a reincarnated person? Chapter 292 Dark Forbidden Lord, Upgrade of the Book of Misfortune. Chapter 292 Dark Forbidden Lord, Upgrade of the Book of Misfortune. I've done something already. Besides, this sacred dynasty isn't too strong. It's very difficult for them to sense her. Even if they notice in the future, they won't mind after this woman shows her talent. As long as there are blood ties, the previous life won't matter, Meng Po replied. Han Ju asked warily, what did you do? He hurriedly checked his interpersonal relationships. Xing Hongshuan's portrait was still there, but there was no cultivation panel in the introduction state. There were only a few words, in the midst of reincarnation. The portrait was still there, which meant that Xing Hongshuan still remembered him. Meng Po rolled her eyes. Do you think I'm such an insincere person? Why would I offend you for a woman? You're even willing to let her reincarnate. Can I use her to threaten you? Han Ju felt offended. Why did it feel like he was being insulted? This won't happen again. Otherwise, the King of Hell will become angry, Meng Po said seriously. Han Ju nodded. He was even more curious about the King of Hell now. Why did it feel like the King of Hell was the strongest existence in the netherworld? Meng Po continued, did the Magus race send a dream to Ling'er, asking her to enter the calamity? Han Ju asked in surprise, it's not your intention. Meng Po shook her head. Don't let Ling'er come out. This immeasurable calamity is far greater than before. The Magus race can't appear in this calamity, or our foundation will be destroyed. Far greater than before? Han Ju was shocked. Why did he encounter an unprecedented calamity as soon as he arrived? Han Ju frowned. Is it because of the conflict between the four overlords? Not only that, there are even more terrifying existences manipulating everything behind the scenes. According to my understanding, there's a dark forbidden lord outside the heavens plotting a great calamity. The demon court, the divine palace, the heavenly court, and the Buddhist sect are all within his calculations. Even if the four overlord powers know, they are unable to resolve their hatred. Such methods are truly terrifying. Meng Po sighed. Dark Forbidden Lord. It sounded like a villain. Han Ju asked, you asked me to wait for you because you wanted to tell me not to let Tu Ling'er out. Meng Po nodded. Han Ju was speechless. It was just a sentence, couldn't she have mentioned this earlier? What was he waiting for? By the way, do you know about the person meant to face the calamity? Han Ju asked. The Heavenly Emperor had said that the person facing the calamity was in the netherworld, so he naturally could not ignore it. There might be trouble approaching in the future. Meng Po narrowed her eyes. That person has already been suppressed. You don't have to ask about the details. Otherwise, it won't be good if you're affected by karma. He had already been suppressed. So easy. Han Ju felt that it was strange. Were the netherworld forces too confident? The two of them chatted for a while more before leaving. Immortal World, West Heaven. In Thunderclap Monastery, countless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas gathered in the huge and grand temple. The heavenly Tao Buddha emitted a boundless Buddhist light. It was as if there were billions of monks chanting behind him. The Buddhist sounds echoed in the temple. Regarding the Dark Forbidden Lord, have you found any clues? Heavenly Tao Buddha asked slowly. An old Buddha said, Amitabha. The appearance of the Dark Forbidden Lord was too sudden. The only clue is that he used a mysterious book to curse the various factions in the immortal world. He might be related to the devil race. Devil race. The Buddhas were shocked and whispered among themselves. Heavenly Tao Buddha asked expressionlessly, do you have evidence? The old Buddha shook his head. Heavenly Tao Buddha continued, the devil race no longer has great providence. The Buddhist sect even controls the devil heart, so it's impossible for the Dark Forbidden Lord to be from the devil race. I think it's related to the demon emperor. He's so crazy that he can fight against the three factions alone. Other than those ancient races, he probably has greater confidence. His words caused the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to nod. Ever since the legend of the Dark Forbidden Lord spread in the immortal world, the demon court did not stop attacking. Instead, they began to wantonly devour the various domains of the immortal world. The immeasurable calamity has just begun. We have to be cautious. The demon court is very likely not the true calamity. It's said that the Dark Forbidden Lord has thousands of clones that walk the world. Amitabha, the Buddhist sect should stand up for all living beings and eliminate the Dark Forbidden Lord in the demon court. The Dark Forbidden Lord likes to curse his enemies. How vicious. My Buddha is merciful. Has anyone been cursed by the Dark Forbidden Lord? Hearing the discussions of the Buddhas, the heavenly Tao Buddha suddenly frowned. He was cursed. He pinched his fingers to deduce and only saw one book. He couldn't see the user's main body. This book was identical to the book that cursed the heavenly Rage Buddha. It was definitely the work of the Dark Forbidden Lord. Heavenly Tao Buddha frowned even harder. He didn't expect the Dark Forbidden Lord to curse him directly. However, this curse couldn't hurt him. Was the Dark Forbidden Lord so weak? No, the Dark Forbidden Lord wanted to disturb his Tao heart. Could it be that the Demon Emperor was driven mad by this? It was very likely. If he cursed the Demon Emperor to death, the Dark Forbidden Lord would definitely shoulder a huge amount of negative karma. However, if he provoked the Demon Emperor to sweep through the heavens, it would have nothing to do with the Dark Forbidden Lord himself. The heavenly Tao Buddha narrowed his eyes. Somehow, he seemed to see a figure. That figure stood at the peak of cultivation, looking down on the myriad worlds. His evil hands wanted to control the heavenly Tao. A strange uneasiness spread in the heavenly Tao Buddha's heart. A powerful enemy wasn't terrifying. What was terrifying was not knowing who it was. 7 years had passed since Xing Hongxuan had reincarnated. Inside the Conate cave abode, 3 lines of words suddenly appeared in front of Han Ju, who was cultivating. Detected that you have been given the name of the Dark Forbidden Lord by the myriad worlds. You have the following choices. 1. Immediately ascend and use your identity as the Dark Forbidden Lord to fight for Providence. You can obtain a heavenly Tao Spirit Stone, a great Tao Fragment, a mystical power inheritance, a supreme treasure, a random natural treasure, and a system upgrade. 2. Cultivate in a low-profile manner and stay away from the immortal world. Don't participate in the calamity. You can obtain a great Tao Fragment and a heavenly Tao Spirit Stone. Han Ju was confused. What the heck? The Dark Forbidden Lord is actually me. Han Ju's first reaction was that he was being framed. His second reaction was that he had been exposed. However, on second thought, there was no indication of a large amount of hatred. The only person who had developed hatred towards him recently was the heavenly Tao Buddha. How did I become the Dark Forbidden Lord? Han Ju couldn't figure it out. Could it be that a mighty figure had deduced that he was a transmigrator? He immediately chose the second option. The great Tao Fragment was useless for the time being. He had to keep it. He had currently accumulated 2 pieces. The heavenly Tao Spirit Stone could be used to upgrade Dharma treasures. However, it was a good item that had not appeared for a long time. Han Ju's first choice was the Book of Misfortune. The Book of Misfortune was an Emperor Tao Supreme treasure. It was not strong enough anymore and needed to be upgraded. As for the other Dharma treasures, there was no hurry. After all, he rarely fought with others. Han Ju immediately took out the Book of Misfortune and the heavenly Tao Spirit Stone and started to fuse and level up. Several days later, Book of Misfortune has been upgraded from an Emperor Tao Supreme treasure to a Deity Realm Numinous treasure. Han Ju smiled in satisfaction when he saw this notification. He put down the Book of Misfortune, took out the heavenly Tao token, and contacted Di Tabai. Soon, his divine sense connected. Senior, does the heavenly court know about the identity of the Dark Forbidden Lord? Han Ju asked. Di Tabai asked in surprise, you've also heard of the Dark Forbidden Lord? He's a mysterious and unknown existence who used a mysterious and unfathomable cursed Dharma treasure to harm the heavens. No one knows his true identity, which is why he's called the Dark Forbidden Lord. The immortals of the heavenly court are also investigating him. It's said that he might be the existence who is controlling the immeasurable calamity. Chapter 293 Deities Degeneration, Cursing Till Madness. Chapter 293 Deities Degeneration, Cursing Till Madness. I control the immeasurable calamity. Who is slandering me? Han Ju frowned. This accusation was too much. He couldn't take it. Who said that? Han Ju asked. Di Tabai replied, I'm not sure who it is, but it's said that all the major factions are cursed by a mysterious Dharma treasure book. As time passed, everyone knew that there was another mighty figure plotting behind the scenes, so they called it the Dark Forbidden Lord. You don't have to worry. The Dark Forbidden Lord only curses the major factions. Han Ju remained silent. Taebai had something to do and quickly severed his divine sense connection. Hanju was still stunned. How had he become the Dark Forbidden Lord? How had he become the mastermind behind the immeasurable calamity? Oh heavens, take pity on me. I'm clearly most afraid of the immeasurable calamity. Damn it, was this karma, was this fate? Hanju looked at Dao Comprehension Sword, who was cultivating and didn't hear the communication between Hanju and Taebai's divine sense. However, he was still worried. He said, "Come here." Dao Comprehension Sword opened her eyes and stood up in front of him without hesitation. Hanju grabbed her little hand, and her face instantly turned red. Master is holding my hand. Dao Comprehension Sword's mind went blank and she felt dizzy. Hanju said, "I want to erase some of your memories, okay?" Dao Comprehension Sword immediately jolted awake when she heard that. She asked nervously, "What memories?" "Only a few. You won't forget me or anyone else." Then sure. Dao Comprehension Sword couldn't reject him. Although she was puzzled, she did not ask further. Hanju immediately used the six-path soul absorption technique and prepared to completely erase the Book of Misfortune from Dao Comprehension Sword's memories to avoid being discovered. Now that he was the Dark Forbidden Lord, his identity was sensitive. He couldn't let anyone know that he had the Book of Misfortune. If he cursed people in the future, he had to chase Dao Comprehension Sword out. An hour later, Hanju let go, and Dao Comprehension Sword opened her eyes. She asked in surprise, "You've already erased a portion of my memories." Why did she feel that she did not lose any memories? After all, Hanju only cursed once every 10 years. The Book of Misfortune didn't linger much in her memories. Yes, cultivate first. Hanju nodded. Dao Comprehension Sword could only suppress her confusion and return to cultivate. Hanju took a deep breath and adjusted his state of mind before continuing to cultivate. I have to be more cautious when cursing the enemies in the future, Hanju thought silently. It was still fine now. There were only so many enemies. If they increased, if these people colluded to discuss, they might deduce that he was the mastermind. Cough. What did he mean by the mastermind? Hanju stopped thinking and opened the emails. Your Dao companion Xing Hongshuan has successfully reincarnated and obtained the connate Providence Golden Kite Sacred Vein. Your good friend Ji Shanshan was attacked by a mighty figure. His soul was injured and his Dao heart was stimulated. Your good friend Huang Zuntian was attacked by Jia school disciples X16. Your good friend Li Daokong was attacked by a mighty figure. Your good friend Zhou Fan obtained the immeasurable emperor's inheritance. Your good friend Mo Fucho obtained the immeasurable emperor's inheritance. Your good friend Ji Shanshan has obtained the inheritance of the devil ancestor. His cultivation has increased greatly and he has absorbed the negative karma of the netherworld. Your good friend Zhang Yi was attacked by your enemy Li Xuanao and was severely injured. Seeing that Xing Hongshuan had obtained connate Providence, Hanju was immediately relieved. She should be able to cultivate very quickly in this life. Perhaps in a few hundred years, she would be able to surpass the cultivation in her previous life. Hanju noticed Ji Shanshan's tragic situation. What happened to this fellow? Why did he collude with the devil ancestor? Could he be the person the Heavenly Emperor and Meng Po were talking about? It was really possible. Hanju sighed. He had a good impression of Ji Shanshan. Although this person was arrogant, he was also interesting. Now that he had embarked on the path of evil, he couldn't help but sigh. Hanju would help him if he could meet him in the future. Hopefully, he would realize his mistake. Hanju thought silently. Of course, he could only persuade him. If Ji Shanshan insisted on resisting the world, Hanju could only hide far away. Saitagarba Palace. A terrifying murderous aura wreaked havoc in the hall. Ji Shanshan's hair was disheveled and his eyes were bloodshot. A terrifying whirlwind circled around his body. Saitagarba stared at him with a dark expression and said in a low voice, "Devil ancestor. What do you want?" Ji Shanshan looked down at him and smiled sinisterly. Saitagarba, this child is not the one who will face the calamity, but he was forced by you guys to take on that role. Is this the righteousness of the Buddhist sect? The great kindness of the Buddhist sect? Saitagarba frowned. This child was born with an invincible heart. He's the supreme deity determined by the heavens. If not for your interference, he would have risen in this calamity and become a righteous deity who rules the heavens. All living beings would walk towards peace and prosperity under his guidance. Unfortunately, his pure invincible heart is already occupied by hatred, killing intent, and anger. You will be burdened with great karma and the negative forces of the calamity. Ji Shanshan's voice was hoarse and filled with mockery. Saitagarba's expression turned uglier. He immediately pinched his fingers to deduce. Several breaths later, his expression changed drastically. Impossible. Why didn't I predict this before? Saitagarba trembled in fear. What the devil ancestor said was true. Ji Shanshan suddenly turned around and flew out of Saitagarba palace. This time, Saitagarba did not stop him. He collapsed to the ground like a pool of mud. After Ji Shanshan disappeared, he raised his trembling right hand and started casting. Soon, a figure appeared in front of him. It was the heavenly Tao Buddha. Saitagarba told him about Ji Shanshan with a miserable expression. Heavenly Tao Buddha frowned. Saitagarba asked in pain, Buddha, didn't you say that he was the one to face the calamity? Heavenly Tao Buddha snorted coldly. Are you blaming me? It's all because you can't deduce his fate. If I were here, I would definitely be able to deduce it. Saitagarba smiled bitterly and shook his head. Now, Ji Shanshan had been driven mad. Once he went berserk, part of the negative karma would fall on him. It would be fine if Ji Shanshan was an ordinary person, but he was a deity recognized by the heavenly Tao. Saitagarba had basically plotted against the heavenly Tao, so he would naturally be targeted by it. If he broke the rules, he would definitely be punished. Perhaps this is the reason why the person to face the calamity was born. What's done has been done. There's no need to regret it. This matter will immediately be passed on to the King of Hell. I'll also inform the other factions. With that, the heavenly Tao Buddha vanished. Saitagarba took a deep breath and slowly stood up. His eyes were confused. Was I really wrong? 10 years later. Han Ju's cultivation level increased again, but he was still very far from breaking through to the rank 4 Immortal Emperor realm. It wasn't so easy to cultivate in the Emperor realm. How talented was the Divine General? He was already a few million years old, but he was still an Immortal Emperor. Han Ju told Tao Comprehension Sword to leave the cave above and took out the Book of Misfortune to curse. This was the first curse after the Book of Misfortune was upgraded. Could a deity realm numinous treasure curse an Immortal Emperor to death? Han Ju's first target was naturally the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. HMPH. At least, I'll curse you until you go mad. Han Ju thought silently and immediately poured his dharmic powers into the Book of Misfortune. The Book of Misfortune burst out with a strange black light that shone on Han Ju's face. His perfectly handsome face looked very dark and evil at this moment. Chapter 294 Fighting the Divine Emperor. Chapter 294 Fighting the Divine Emperor. At the edge of the Yellow Spring, the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor, who was dressed in a red robe, sat on the shore and cultivated. He suddenly opened his eyes and frowned. Damn it, that dog cursed me again. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor almost died of anger. He had chased Han Ju for so many years but still couldn't find him. He wanted to give up, but Han Ju would curse him from time to time. How could he stand it? He had to kill this fellow. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor's expression changed slightly. He began to use his dharmic powers to resist the mysterious curse. What's going on? Why is his curse so strong? Did he break through? The Golden Crow Divine Emperor thought uneasily as a sense of danger arose in his heart. No, he had to find that dog quickly, or he would be in trouble. A month later, the Golden Crow Divine Emperor suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His expression darkened as he hurriedly suppressed the chaotic dharmic powers in his body. On the other side, inside the Conate Cave abode, Han Ju opened his eyes and looked at the Book of Misfortune in his hand. He was secretly shocked. The Book of Misfortune became stronger after it was upgraded to a deity realm numinous treasure. The dharmic powers it could carry also increased greatly. In the past, it used up to 10 million years of lifespan to curse and required a few months. Now, it only needed a month. This was still something he used cautiously. If he used his full strength, the time could be compressed even shorter. After the curse power of the Book of Misfortune became stronger, although the burden on Han Ju also increased, it temporarily couldn't affect his soul and wouldn't cause permanent damage to his body. This was a good thing. Han Ju was still worried that the Book of Misfortune would become a double-edged sword. From the looks of it, as long as he didn't go overboard, the Book of Misfortune would not affect him. Han Ju thought for a moment and continued cursing. Although he had lost 10 million years of his lifespan, ever since he broke through to the rank 3 Immortal Emperor realm, his lifespan had already exceeded 10 trillion years. In other words, even after he cursed many enemies, his lifespan had increased greatly instead. Another 2 months passed. Han Ju finally saw an email. Because of your curse, your enemy Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor has lost his cultivation and has fallen to a rank 8 Immortal Emperor. Han Ju heaved a sigh of relief as he put down the Book of Misfortune and wiped the blood off his face. Losing a total of 70 million years of lifespan was worth it. Han Ju continued cursing the Demon Emperor, Golden Rock Demon Lord, Heavenly Tao Buddha, and Li Xuanao. Everyone was cursed for 5 days. This was just to mess with their mental state. After cursing, he put down the Book of Misfortune. Then, he split a soul fragment and quickly left Hidden Sect Island. He wanted to find the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. Since the other party had already fallen to a rank 8 Immortal Emperor, he could be killed. No one had ever chased after Hanju so persistently. He naturally wouldn't let him go. On a cliff, the Golden Crow Divine Emperor frowned as he stared at the figure meditating under the cliff. It was Ji Shanshan. At this moment, Ji Shanshan's entire body was trembling. His head was also shaking non-stop. His expression changed irregularly as if he had gone mad. The Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor happened to pass by this place and discovered that there was something wrong with Ji Shanshan's aura. Therefore, he stopped to look. Pinching his fingers to deduce, his expression changed slightly. This fellow was actually related to Hanju. The Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor immediately revealed a sinister smile. He raised his palm and slapped out, causing a terrifying pressure to descend from the sky, instantly pressing Ji Shanshan down. Ji Shanshan was jolted awake. He looked up at the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor and said angrily, "What do you mean by this?" He had finally escaped from the Saitagarba palace. Ji Shanshan wanted to cultivate for a period of time, but he did not expect to be attacked again. Why? Rage burned in Ji Shanshan's heart. He believed that he had never done anything outrageous or offended anyone. Why was it that people kept finding trouble with him? Do you know him? The Golden Crow Divine Emperor raised his hand and used his dharmic powers to manifest Hanju's appearance. The moment Ji Shanshan saw Hanju, he couldn't help but frown. He asked in a low voice, "Are you looking for him?" "That's right. I want to kill him. Tell me, where is he hiding in the netherworld?" The Golden Crow Divine Emperor looked down at Ji Shanshan and asked coldly. Ji Shanshan was furious. Hanju was one of his few friends. How could he tolerate others chasing after his friends? Ji Shanshan suddenly leapt up and spread his arms. Countless black lightning interwove around his body. He was like the thunder god from ancient times, insufferably arrogant and domineering. Without another word, Ji Shanshan raised his hand and waved it at the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. Boom! A deafening boom erupted in the sky. 10,000 bolts of lightning suddenly descended as if the sky was collapsing as it bombarded the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor smiled disdainfully. He raised his right hand and squeezed through the air, directly crushing countless bolts of lightning. A mere Grand Unity Golden Immortal dares to compete with me. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor's laughter was so wild and arrogant, filled with disdain. Perfect, I'll start with you first and let you experience the consequences of offending me. His smile became sinister. His anger rose uncontrollably when he thought of Hanju cursing him in secret. Ji Shanshan's expression was cold as he charged towards the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. A huge battle erupted. Above the yellow spring, Hanju's soul fragment moved forward aimlessly. Strange, why isn't that stinky bird shouting anymore? Hanju was surprised. Previously, he could hear the cries of the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor from time to time, but recently, he couldn't hear it. Did something happen to him? Hanju was puzzled when he suddenly felt a powerful aura of battle. His eyes lit up. Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. I've finally found you. Next, I'll let you know what true cruelty is. Hanju immediately contacted his main body and asked it to hurry over. Then, he went forward to see who was fighting the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. The area ahead was devastated and surrounded by a dark mist that looked like smoke. The ground had countless cracks, forming a bottomless valley. The sky was even burning with raging flames. In the air, the Golden Crow Divine Emperor grabbed Ji Shanshan's head with one hand and raised him in the air. He smiled disdainfully and said, "The power of the Divine General. No wonder you dared to attack me. Unfortunately, your body is too weak. Even the Devil Ancestor can't save you." Covered in blood, Ji Shanshan gritted his teeth and glared at the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. At this moment, he didn't even have the strength to move. The difference in power was too great. It was so great that Ji Shanshan's confidence was crushed. A wisp of black smoke rose from the top of his head and condensed into a ghost figure. Golden Crow Divine Clan, do you really want to become enemies with the devil race? The Golden Crow Divine Emperor smiled disdainfully. What are the devils? You're just street rats. Tell me, where is that dog? Ji Shanshan raised his right hand with difficulty and wanted to slap the face of the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor's eyes turned cold, and Ji Shanshan's right arm burned with true sun flame. Ah! The pain that penetrated deep into his soul made Ji Shanshan scream hoarsely. He was extremely miserable. Chapter 295 The Unfathomable Cao Cao. Chapter 295 The Unfathomable Cao Cao. Seeing Ji Shanshan in extreme pain, the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor revealed a carefree expression. What a pity, if you were that dog, I would be even happier. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor laughed teasingly. The ghostly figure said angrily, Golden Crow Divine Clan, you will pay the price. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor waved his left hand and dispersed the ghost figure. Then, he prepared to extract Ji Shanshan's soul and read memories about Hanju. He didn't believe that he couldn't find him. His eyes turned red at the thought of being cursed by that dog. At this moment, a familiar aura approached him. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor turned around and saw Hanju's soul fragment flying over. He immediately smiled in surprise before his smile turned cold. They finally met. Hanju was the first to speak. Stupid bird, let go of him and come at me. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor directly crushed Ji Shanshan's head, causing blood and flesh to splatter everywhere. But he still held Ji Shanshan's soul in his hand. Hanju said, if you kill him, my true body won't come. You can continue looking for me endlessly. The Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor frowned slightly. He released Ji Shanshan's soul. Hanju raised his hand and sucked Ji Shanshan's soul into his hand. The Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor stared at him and asked, you finally can't help but show yourself. Hanju said calmly, haven't you been looking for me? Ji Shanshan's soul was extremely weak. He looked at Hanju with difficulty and said weakly, hurry up and leave, you're not his. Hanju said softly, don't talk. Rest first. Leave him to me. Ji Shanshan was stunned. Seeing him so calm, the fear in his heart inexplicably calmed down. That's right. This fellow was so cowardly. If he didn't have confidence, how could he dare to show himself? However, Ji Shanshan couldn't help but look at the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. He saw that this fellow had a disdainful smile on his face and did not care about them at all. Ji Shanshan was immediately infuriated. Anger occupied his heart. He wasn't angry at the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor, but at himself. He was too weak. He was just too weak. He was actually afraid of the other party. Kid, why aren't you hiding in the dark and continuing to curse me? The Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor asked coldly. Hanju was secretly shocked. How did this fellow know? No, the Heavenly Tao Buddha and the Demon Emperor did not sense him. Why did the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor discover him? Hanju asked in surprise, you're also being cursed. He smiled and teased, I feel better now, I'm not the only one getting cursed. Hearing this, the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor frowned and asked, it's not you. You were also cursed. Hanju shrugged, haven't you heard of the Dark Forbidden Lord? He secretly cursed all the forces in the myriad worlds. You and I are both immortal emperors. We might be targeted too. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor frowned even harder. That's true, he's not even my match. How can he curse me until I lost a major realm of cultivation? The Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor thought silently. He was only an immortal emperor and couldn't even deduce the Book of Misfortune. He naturally couldn't deduce Hanju. He was only guessing. Now it seemed that Hanju was not cursing him. Damn Dark Forbidden Lord, I'll remember you. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor thought silently. His gaze was still fixed on Hanju. Forget about the Dark Forbidden Lord. The most important thing now was to kill this dog. Soon, a figure flew over from the horizon. It was Hanju's main body. He held the primordial judgment sword in his hand as he flew in front of the soul fragment to absorb it. Then, he slowly walked towards the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. Hanju said, actually, there's no grudge between us. Why are you chasing after me? The Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor looked down on him and asked with a smile, are you afraid? I'm indeed afraid. I wonder if. No, I must kill, the Golden Crow Divine Emperor shouted domineeringly. However, before he could finish speaking, Hanju suddenly attacked. He slashed out with his sword. A white stream appeared in the netherworld and swept past the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor, slicing the sea of clouds in half. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor's pupils dilated and his body trembled. This sword chi. In an instant, his body suddenly exploded. Countless sword chi wreaked havoc in his soul like wind blades. The Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor immediately cast a spell to block, but he had just been cursed and was already in an injured state. He was unable to block Hanju's sword chi. Unparalleled sword chi. This was Hanju's new mystical power. At an extremely fast speed, he sent the sword chi into the enemy's body. He used the Destiny Sword Chi Great Wheel to imprison the enemy and compressed the explosive sword chi like 3 pure world cleansing into a small area to destroy the enemy. Oh no, I can't take it. The Golden Crow Divine Emperor's expression changed drastically. An unprecedented fear enveloped his heart. No, the Golden Crow Divine Emperor's soul was directly obliterated by the unparalleled sword chi. The entire process took less than half a breath of time. Before Ji Shanshan could even figure out what had happened, the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor's body and soul had been destroyed. Hanju heaved a sigh of relief. If the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor was still a rank 9 immortal emperor, Hanju's sword chi would take a while to completely kill him. Fortunately, this fellow had just fallen a realm. Not only had his cultivation level regressed, but his dharmic powers were also somewhat lacking. Under such circumstances, how could the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor withstand Hanju's deity realm mystical power? Not only that, but the unparalleled sword chi itself was a karma mystical power. After killing the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor, the Golden Crow Divine clan wouldn't be able to guess who the murderer was. Hanju immediately fled with Ji Shanshan and quickly disappeared into the end of the world. At the edge of the Yellow Spring, Hanju put Ji Shanshan down and used his dharmic powers to help him reconstruct his body. Ji Shanshan was still in a daze. The nearly invincible Golden Crow Divine Emperor had been insta-killed by Cao Cao. Impossible. Ji Shanshan felt that everything was like a dream. Hanju asked, "Why didn't you stay in the heavenly court?" Coming back to his senses, Ji Shanshan said bitterly, "I want to pursue greater strength." Sigh. This sigh contained endless unwillingness and regret. Hanju became speechless. It could only be said that Ji Shanshan was unlucky. "What do you plan to do next?" Hanju asked. He wanted to take Ji Shanshan into the hidden sect, but this fellow was clearly not an ascetic. He might expose the location of the hidden sect island. Ji Shanshan's eyes turned cold. Saitagarbha has determined that I'm someone who will face the calamity. He tortured me and humiliated me. In that case, I will become that person and enter the calamity. I want to fight for Providence. I want to unify the myriad worlds. Hanju could hear the killing intent in his tone. It seemed that it was very difficult to persuade him. The atmosphere fell silent. Ji Shanshan turned around and asked, "Cao Cao, what's your cultivation level now?" "Immortal Emperor." Hanju hesitated for a moment before nodding slightly. Ji Shanshan felt bitter. Not only did their difference not decrease, it instead increased. Cao Cao was truly unfathomable. "No, I can't be defeated." Ji Shanshan asked with a burning gaze, "Why don't the two of us join forces and sweep through the immortal world, snatching Providence and surpassing all living beings? Wouldn't that be beautiful?" Chapter 296 Expansion of the Reroll World, Mysterious Curse. Chapter 296 Expansion of the Reroll World, Mysterious Curse. Hearing Ji Shanshan's words, Hanju instinctively resisted. "To think you said that you're not the one who will face the calamity. I saved you out of kindness, but you still want to drag me into the calamity." Hanju couldn't help but ridicule in his head. "Detected that the person facing the calamity has invited you to enter the calamity together. You have the following choices. 1. Agree. Work with the person facing the calamity for great providence. You can obtain a mystical power inheritance, a supreme treasure, a great Tao fragment, and a heavenly Tao spirit stone. 2. Reject. Stay away from the calamity and cultivate in a low-profile manner. You can obtain the system's upgrade opportunity." When Hanju saw the 3 lines of words, he immediately chose the second option. System upgrade. He finally had a chance to upgrade the system. How wonderful. Hanju was in a good mood. He looked at Ji Shanshan and shook his head with a smile. "Don't you know my personality? I'm afraid of death. Forget it." Disappointment flashed across Ji Shanshan's eyes. He would be more confident if Hanju helped. "Wait. How can I think that? I want to surpass him, Cao Cao." Ji Shanshan's gaze became firm again. The two of them stopped talking. Several hours later, after Ji Shanshan's body recovered, Hanju quickly left. The ghost figure appeared above Ji Shanshan's head again. He sighed. "A close friend is rare in life. I didn't expect you to have such a good friend. I'm impressed." Ji Shanshan couldn't help but recall the time he spent with Hanju in the mortal world. He shook his head and laughed. Hanju moved around crazily in the netherworld. After moving for tens of thousands of times, he finally jumped back into Hidden Sect Island. After returning to the Fusang tree, Hanju was secretly pleased. No one could track him now. "Master, why did you come back from outside?" Tu Ling'er asked curiously. Hanju said, "It's windy outside. I went to stop the wind." Tu Ling'er couldn't help but look at the dark sky. Was there wind? Hanju began to observe the Fusang tree. The tree's intelligence seemed to have grown again. This time, it no longer resisted Hanju. Facing his divine sense, it was even a little close. Hanju used his divine sense to nourish it, but he let it grow freely. Master, Marongchi is bullying us. Han 3 suddenly ran over and said. The other Calabash brothers were also indignant. Although their seniority was higher than Marongchi's, they could not defeat him. Marongchi spread his hands and said, "It's just a spar. Don't slander me. Didn't you defeat the chaotic heavenly dog before?" The chaotic heavenly dog nodded desperately as it cried. It was actually beaten up by the latter. Its self-esteem was about to shatter. Zhou Mingyu stood up and said, "Uncle Master Marong, why don't we spar?" Marongchi looked at him and nodded slightly. Recently, Zhou Mingyu's bloodline had begun to transform. The demon saint bloodline from his previous life might be recovering. His combat strength and cultivation had been increasing rapidly. What vexed him was that no matter how hard he cultivated, he couldn't surpass his master, Chu Shiren. Although Chu Shiren said that he didn't want to cultivate, he kept suppressing him by a major realm, making him want to vomit blood. You can spar as you wish, but you can't be too ruthless. Killing fellow disciples is against the rules, Hanju said casually. Cultivating on the island was boring. It was also a good thing to spar. However, the territory of Hidden Sect Island was limited. The disciples couldn't use their full strength, or they would affect the restriction in the surrounding yellow spring. After nourishing the fusang tree for 5 minutes, Hanju returned to the Konate cave abode to continue cultivating. He sat on the bed and clicked on his interpersonal relationships. Only after confirming that the Golden Crow Divine Emperor's portrait was no longer there did he truly relax. This great enemy was finally dead, and no new hatred appeared. The karma mystical power was really powerful. He could deny the possibility of an endless chain of enemies. Hanju thought. Several months later, in the midst of cultivating, Hanju was called by the white-robed Buddha. He sent his divine sense into the reroll world and found him. The white-robed Buddha was in the Taoist temple. Hanju appeared and floated in front of him. Sect Master, I want to summon back the cultivators who have ascended from the reroll world. The white-robed Buddha bowed. Hanju frowned. How many people will be summoned back? No, it's too much of a commotion. The white-robed Buddha asked in surprise, it's been so long. Could it be that the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor is still chasing after us? Hanju was stunned. Right, the Golden Crow Divine Emperor was dead. What was he afraid of now? Although the Demon Emperor and the Heavenly Tao Buddha hated him, they didn't have the time to care about him. The reason why he had moved the reroll world over was that the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor was pestering him. Hanju asked, how many people can you call back? The white-robed Buddha replied, at least 1,000. Now that the immortal world is in chaos, those cultivators are already uneasy. When they heard that the providence of the mortal world has increased, they now can hide and want to return. However, the reroll world is isolated by your dharmic powers. They can't use their divine powers to find it. Hanju thought for a moment and said, let them return to the void where the reroll world was before. I'll fetch them 50 years later. Thank you, Sect Master. The white-robed Buddha said in surprise. Then, he began to report the recent development of the reroll world. Apart from the constantly increasing ceiling of the cultivation realm in the world, the number of living beings also increased. The humans and demons did not interfere with each other and fell into a cultivation frenzy. The only thing the white-robed Buddha complained about was that the reroll world was too small. After the two of them finished chatting, Hanju placed his attention on the primordial world. He led the nebulous primordial chi to the reroll world and created something from nothing. He created land and expanded it. This process would be slow. Hanju had to cultivate and expand at the same time. Multitasking was nothing to an immortal emperor. Time passed. The system upgrade was taking longer than before. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed. The system was still not successfully upgraded. Hanju chased Dao Comprehension Sword out and took out the Book of Misfortune to curse his enemies. While cursing, he checked his emails. Your good friend Li Daokong has stepped into the river of destiny. Your good friend Divine General has taken a deadly risk. He has comprehended a deity realm mystical power. Your Dao companion Xing Hongshuan has received guidance from a grand unity golden immortal. Her cultivation has increased greatly. Your good friend Huang Jihao was attacked by demons X349232. Your good friend Zhang Yi was attacked by your enemy Li Xuanao and was severely injured. Your good friend Zhou Fan has devoured a Qilin and his bloodline has transformed. Your good friend Meng Po was cursed by a mysterious curse. The battle was still ongoing, but it was much calmer than before. It seemed that the calamity was not always in a tense battle. Han Ju noticed that Meng Po was cursed, and his heart skipped a beat. Crap, could it be that someone wanted to use the name of the Dark Forbidden Lord to commit a crime? At this juncture, as long as one cursed the enemy and blamed it on the Dark Forbidden Lord, it would be very easy to succeed. Wait, no one knows that I'm the Dark Forbidden Lord. So what if I'm framed? Han Ju raised his eyebrows. He had deduced that the name of the Dark Forbidden Lord did not create karma. After all, the Book of Misfortune could block karma. Forget it, no matter what they did, they would most likely die after the immeasurable calamity ended. His goal was to survive this immeasurable calamity. Han Ming has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, 4 stars. Chapter 297 Stupid Little Brother, Duan Hongchen. Chapter 297 Stupid Little Brother, Duan Hongchen. Han Ming, who? Han Ju was stunned when he saw this line of words. He immediately checked Han Ming's profile picture. Han Ming, late-stage Grand Unity Mystic Immortal Realm, descendant of an immortal emperor. His elder brother, Han Ju, was chosen by immortal Emperor Samsara to become his descendant. Because of this, he was highly regarded by immortal Emperor Samsara and was reborn from immortal to an immortal. Because he knew that everything had happened because of his elder brother, Han Ju, he became jealous. Current hatred points, 4 stars. What the hell, my younger brother? Han Ju was stunned. The providence of an immortal emperor descendant that the system had produced was actually arranged in this manner. It had unknowingly made immortal Emperor Samsara choose him. This was a little impressive. Han Ju wasn't grateful to immortal Emperor Samsara. He was also grateful to the system. As for this younger brother, Han Ju didn't care. His parents had abandoned him when he was young. The reason why immortal Emperor Samsara chose Han Ming was probably that he saw that Han Ju was rising and wanted another pawn to restrain him. You want to use this stupid brother to threaten me? Impossible. Han Ju smiled disdainfully and couldn't be bothered with the other party. Han Ming was only a Grand Unity Mystic Immortal and could not threaten him. Not to mention Han Ming, Han Ju didn't even think much of immortal Emperor Samsara. After all, he was also an immortal emperor himself. He had even cultivated the primordial chaos reincarnation Great Tao, which was stronger than the 6 paths of reincarnation technique. After cursing all the enemies, Han Ju didn't stand up and continued cultivating. Although the powerful enemy, Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor, was already dead, Han Ju still had to work hard to become stronger. His target was to become a rank 4 immortal emperor. In the vast void, in a sun star, flames swept across the surface of the planet like purgatory. In one place was a huge palace with 2 huge 3-legged golden crows at the entrance. The hall was also burning with true sun flame, but none of the decorations had been burned. Figures stood in the hall, including Zhang Yi. Sitting at the head of the table was a mighty figure with a bird head and a human body. He wore a crimson-red robe and had a terrifying aura. The Golden Crow Divine Clan's patriarch, Di Lanshan. Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor has perished. Who has he been chasing after recently? Di Lanshan asked with a cold tone. Zhang Yi was the first to speak. He was chasing after a friend of mine. However, that person's cultivation level is weak and he's not an immortal emperor. Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor should have been killed by another mighty figure. The others nodded. Previously, when Zhang Yi was killed by the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor, it had caused quite a stir in the clan. They were all prodigies worth the Golden Crow Divine clan nurturing with all their might. It was a pity no matter who they lost. Di Lanshan narrowed his eyes. Did the Golden Crow Divine Emperor die in the Netherworld? An old man nodded and replied, yes, I asked the King of Hell. He's in seclusion and said that he doesn't know. Saitagarba was attacked by the Devil Ancestor earlier and didn't have the time to care about the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. The others guessed. Zhang Yi was displeased when he heard that. So what if he's dead? Patriarch, as long as you give me time, surpassing the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor is not difficult at all. I will bring prosperity to the Golden Crow Divine clan. Di Lanshan narrowed his eyes at him and smiled. What do you plan to do in this calamity? Dodge or enter? Of course I'll enter. Aren't you afraid of death? The reason why elites are elites is that they are alive. If I die, it will mean that I'm not the destined one of the Golden Crow Divine clan. Zhang Yi was filled with confidence. With the death of the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor, he was the strongest prodigy of the Golden Crow Divine clan. No one could compare to him. Di Lanshan smiled meaningfully. In that case, I'll give you a mission. Go to the Netherworld and find the Ancestral Magus Tower. Destroy it, Di Lanshan said. Zhang Yi agreed without hesitation. The others were in an uproar. Ancestral Magus Tower. They couldn't help but recall the long-standing hatred between the Magus race and the Golden Crow divine clan. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, another 30 years passed. Hanju's cultivation level improved again. The speed at which the stellar primordial body absorbed the 36th grade reincarnation world destruction Black Lotus's negative karma was also constantly increasing. The rank 4 immortal emperor realm was no longer far away. Every 10 years, Hanju would spend a month taking care of his enemies. However, only Golden Rock Demon Lord's cultivation level kept decreasing. It was very difficult for the Demon Emperor, the Heavenly Tao Buddha, and Li Xuanao to be affected by the curse. Hanju wasn't in a hurry. Life was good like this. Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune and cursed the enemies again. While cursing, he checked his emails. The Heavenly Court seemed to have fought with the Demon Court again. They attacked and were severely injured. Xing Hongshuan had quite a few fortuitous encounters. It seemed that the Golden Kite Sacred Veins bloodline was not simple. He didn't know how this woman was doing recently. She was too far away, and Hanju couldn't understand her recent situation. Several days later, Hanju was still cursing the enemy. Detected bearer of Conate Providence, check its origin. Hanju raised his eyebrows and immediately chose to check. It had been a long time since he had seen someone with Conate Providence. Hundreds of years. Now, there was no one in the reroll world with a system-certified Conate Providence. The threshold of Conate Providence also increased with Hanju's cultivation. Duan Hongchen, rank 1 immortal emperor. Born in the face of calamity. Reincarnated ancient god, he once participated in the immeasurable calamity and died. His remnant soul and the negative karma were suppressed in the netherworld. After countless years of evolution, his body was born from negative karma. His remnant soul gained intelligence and could absorb negative karma to become stronger, but he could not digest negative karma himself. Born in the face of calamity. Wasn't the person facing the calamity Ji Shanshan? Could it be that more than one person was facing the calamity? Hanju immediately checked Duan Hongchen. This fellow was actually slowly rising towards the sea in the Yellow Spring. To prevent any accidents, Hanju still followed Duan Hongchen to a simulation trial. Too close, but still an instant kill. I have no worries. Hanju didn't look for Duan Hongchen. He should stay away from such a calamity lest he got involved in it. A pair of eyes opened in the dark Yellow Spring. These eyes were so clear and bright as if they could expel all the filth in the world. I'm finally awake, a muttered voice sounded. He suddenly rushed out of the Yellow Spring, and the water of the Yellow Spring shot into the sky. Duan Hongchen also revealed himself. He was naked and had a perfect figure. His muscles were well defined and his white hair fluttered in the wind. He raised his right hand, and the water of the netherworld rose up from below. It wrapped around his body and condensed into a yellow robe. A crown that looked like a dragon horn appeared on his head, looking sinister and domineering. Duan Hongchen twisted his waist and opened his arms. A slightly sinister smile appeared on his handsome face as he muttered, "Hao Tian, I've already revived. I'll fight for the heavenly Tao before you." He smiled confidently. He was about to leave when he suddenly sensed something and turned around. His gaze locked onto a small reef in the distant Yellow Spring Sea. Surprised, Duan Hongchen muttered, "The god of misfortune, why is he here?" With that, Duan Hongchen flew towards Hidden Sect Island. He smelled something bad the moment he was born. He couldn't help but smile. How exciting! Chapter 298 System Upgrade, Divination of Heavenly Secrets. Chapter 298 System Upgrade, Divination of Heavenly Secrets. What? Sensing that Duan Hongchen was actually approaching Hidden Sect Island, Hanju raised his eyebrows. What was this fellow trying to do? Cause trouble? Duan Hongchen quickly flew to the sky above Hidden Sect Island and smiled. Long time no see. I didn't expect to meet you right after I woke up. You're really unlucky. His voice entered the Hidden Sect Island. Everyone was stunned. Who was he talking about? Cultivating in seclusion in the cave abode, Suchi suddenly opened his eyes. For some reason, when he heard Duan Hongchen's voice, he felt inexplicably uneasy, as if he had encountered his natural enemy. What happened? Suchi was secretly puzzled. At this moment, the restriction on Hidden Sect Island opened and Duan Hongchen flew into the island. He was about to speak when a figure appeared in front of him. It was Hanju. He asked, "What's the matter?" Duan Hongchen sized him up. He was only a Grand Unity True Immortal. He chuckled, "I'm looking for someone else. Hand him over and I won't hurt anyone on your island." "Oh, you want to kidnap someone? You can say that." Duan Hongchen wasn't vigilant, either. He had scanned with his divine sense just now and discovered they were all very weak. As for the Black Hell Demon Lord, he disguised his cultivation like Hanju and was ignored. The difference between a rank 1 immortal emperor and a rank 5 immortal emperor was still huge. All the disciples of the Cultivate Diligently Become Immortal Mountain looked at Duan Hongchen in surprise. On a mountain peak, the meditating Black Hell Demon Lord smiled mockingly. Hanju said fearfully, "They're all my disciples. I'm afraid it's not appropriate for you to do this, right?" Duan Hongchen waved his hand and said, "There's no need to say anything. I don't mean to hurt any of you, but that person," Hanju suddenly attacked. The primordial judgment sword had unknowingly appeared in his hand. He raised his sword and slashed. Unparalleled sword chi. Before Duan Hongchen could react, the sword chi entered his body and directly destroyed it. Countless sword chi strangled his soul. Hanju also used the six-path soul absorption technique and sucked his soul into his primordial world. The hidden sect island became calm once again. This battle ended too quickly. It was so fast that no one could see it clearly, including the Black Hell Demon Lord. "So strong, he's getting stronger." The Black Hell Demon Lord looked at Hanju in awe. He had a feeling that Hanju would rise in this calamity. After the calamity passed, Hanju would become one of the top mighty figures in the world. The other disciples were used to it. Most of Hanju's attacks insta-killed the enemy. It was only when the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor came that they suffered a setback. Hanju turned around and returned to the Conate Cave abode. The disciples discussed among themselves, but it did not cause a commotion. In the primordial world, Duan Hongchen's soul was imprisoned by the great Tao of life and death and could not move. He looked around in shock. His negative karma was forcefully sucked out of his body and surged in one direction. He looked in the direction where the negative karma flowed and saw a dark planet. His gaze pierced through the planet and saw a black lotus. 36th grade reincarnation world destruction black lotus. How is that possible? Duan Hongchen was shocked and terrified. He hurriedly shouted, "Fellow Taoist. I was wrong. Spare my life. Please let me go. Duan Hongchen has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, 4 stars. Hanju snorted coldly when he saw this line of words. He would suppress this guy for a period of time. He didn't want to kill Duan Hongchen for the time being because this fellow was someone who was going to face the calamity. He could clearly sense the terrifying negative karma in his body. Once he killed him, this huge negative karma would transfer to him. The more negative karma there was, the easier it was to suffer retribution. The heavenly tribulation he encountered during his tribulation transcendence would be even stronger. He might even be struck by lightning while walking. In other words, the more negative karma there was, the more unlucky he would be. Hanju didn't want to be unlucky. Dao Comprehension Sword asked curiously, "Master, who was that fellow looking for?" Hanju shook his head. Who knows? He was probably looking for Su Qi. God of misfortune. Hanju didn't want to reveal Su Qi's identity for the time being and planned to let nature take its course. In a courtyard, a woman in a green dress who was as beautiful as a fairy was meditating and cultivating. She was the reincarnated Xing Hongshuan. Xing Hongshuan slowly opened her beautiful eyes and looked at the sky, sighing faintly. "What are you thinking?" A voice sounded, and a Taoist nun walked into the courtyard. Xing Hongshuan immediately stood up and bowed. "Master, I'm not thinking about anything." The Taoist nun walked in front of her and sat down. She smiled and said, "Aren't you going to tell Master? Could it be related to your previous life? I've long known that you have the memories of your previous life. Could it be that you have a blood feud? I have to give you a piece of advice. The grudges of your previous life are in the past. Don't take it to heart, or you'll be very tired." Xing Hongshuan shook her head and smiled. "No, I'm just thinking about my husband." "Husband?" The Taoist nun frowned. Xing Hongshuan was surprised to see her expression. Could it be that Master's sect did not allow disciples to find Tao companions? The Taoist nun said, "Disciple, the calamity has arrived. Your sacred dynasty will also face a life and death crisis. I can't accompany you for long. Your potential is outstanding. Don't be obsessed with love, understand?" Xing Hongshuan said obediently, "I understand." She didn't think so. "My potential is also considered outstanding. My husband's potential is number 1 in the universe. Only by relying on her husband could she obtain the great Tao." Xing Hongshuan changed the topic and asked, "By the way, Master, which sect are you from?" The Taoist nun smiled. "I'm not from a sect, but from a follower of Providence. I'm from the Chan school." Chan school. Xing Hongshuan fell into deep thought. The Taoist nun raised her eyes to the sky and muttered to herself, "The calamity has arrived. I wonder who will be the sole leader in the current world and how many of us will survive." Xing Hongshuan became even more curious about the tribulation. Master, when can I travel between the two worlds of the living and dead? You want to go to the netherworld? Only a grand unity mystic immortal can be safe when doing that. With my potential, how long will it take? 3,000 years if you're fast. Oh, 20 years later, the system finally succeeded in upgrading itself. System upgrade successful. The Tao field has been upgraded. The array formation has been upgraded to the Emperor realm. Spatial array formation has been added. You can expand the space within the Tao field. Tao field immortal chi has increased by 10 times. Kone chi has increased by 2 times. The Tao field can block the prying of a zenith heaven's divine sense. The use of the simulation trial function can be expanded. The available slots will be set by you. The users can be expelled at any time. The system has developed a new derivation function. You can consume lifespan to deduce all the heavenly secrets. Han Ju was pleasantly surprised. No wonder he had waited so long. In addition to upgrading, the new simulation trial's expanded function and derivation function were more than worth it. The simulation trial could also allow his disciples to increase their combat experience. After all, their cultivation levels were too high, so sparring on the island was inconvenient. Han Ju was most interested in the derivation function. Deduce the heavenly secrets. Was this prying into the future? Many immortal emperors could do it, but they could only deduce existences weaker than them. Now that the calamity had begun, the heavenly secrets were concealed, and it was impossible to deduce. Could it be that the system could deduce the heavenly secrets regardless of the immeasurable calamity? Han Ju decided to give it a try. I want to deduce who will benefit the most from this calamity. Han Ju thought silently. A line of words appeared in front of him. 1 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Chapter 299 Dark Future, Rivaling the Heavenly Emperor. Chapter 299 Dark Future, Rivaling the Heavenly Emperor. 1 billion years of lifespan. What a huge scam. Han Ju subconsciously wanted to choose no, but he still hesitated. Although he had a lifespan of 10 trillion years and it was not a big deal to use 1 billion, he couldn't bear to do it. He was afraid that he would become addicted. The constant cursing was already consuming his lifespan. If he added another derivation function, would he expend himself to death in the future? However, spending 0.001% of his lifespan to understand the future development of the heavenly Tao was a great deal. If it was the heavenly emperor, he would be at ease. If it was an enemy, he could still prepare in advance. Just this once. Next time, I won't use the option if I need to spend another billion years of lifespan. Han Ju thought silently and made the painful choice. In an instant, his consciousness began to spin. It was extremely uncomfortable. The derivation function wasn't as simple as telling the results. It also had to deduce what had not happened yet. After some time, Han Ju suddenly woke up. He discovered that he was standing on a piece of land. The world was murky and the sun and moon were dark. Countless corpses were everywhere. Black blood formed rivers and lakes that covered the ground. Dead silence. Desolation. Han Ju turned around and looked in all directions, his eyes filled with despair. Was this the world after the immeasurable calamity ended? Han Ju finally realized how terrifying the immeasurable calamity was. Han Ju suddenly frowned and followed his gaze. At the end of the ground stood a majestic figure that was like a mountain. The arms of this figure were chopped off and his hair was disheveled. He had a sinister expression and his eyes were lifeless. Only his body was left, and his soul had long been destroyed. The Heavenly Emperor. Han Ju was thunderstruck. The Heavenly Emperor had died. Crap, the Heavenly Emperor wasn't the winner. Then, who won? At this moment, a golden light broke through the sea of clouds and illuminated the world, expelling the darkness between heaven and earth. Amitabha. A loud voice sounded as a huge golden Buddha as majestic as Bujo Divine Mountain descended from the sky. I'm the Heavenly Tao Buddha. I'll bring the Buddhist sect to flatten the calamity and expel the negative karma of the world. We'll welcome light and hope for all living beings. Han Ju showed a frown. The Buddhist sect had won. It was the Heavenly Tao Buddha. Han Ju couldn't forget that the Heavenly Tao Buddha had a 4-star hatred towards him. Crap, the enemy really won. Han Ju had killed the victorious fighting Buddha and stolen the white-robed Buddha. This grudge was almost impossible to resolve. This wasn't a good thing. Just as Han Ju was about to become depressed, he suddenly saw the golden light on the Heavenly Tao Buddha's body fade away, and he gradually turned into a black Buddha. The surface of his body reflected a metallic luster. The solemn and sacred Heavenly Tao Buddha had become sinister and terrifying. His expressionless face turned sinister as he revealed a terrifying smile. A pair of black wings spread out from his back, covering the sky. The world fell into darkness again. However, light and hope are short-lived. The true darkness has just begun. The heavenly Tao Buddha's voice sounded again, filled with madness. Boom! Everything in front of Hanju shattered like a mirror. He woke up and his consciousness returned to reality. He gasped, his forehead covered in a cold sweat. Master, what's wrong? Tao Comprehension Sword asked in concern. Hanju came back to his senses and said, nothing. Go out first. Tao Comprehension Sword was stunned. She hesitated for a moment before leaving. When only Hanju was left in the Konate cave abode did he take out the Book of Misfortune and poured his dharmic powers into it. In an instant, the book emitted a black light that shone on his face. Damn it, it was really the enemy who had the last laugh. Hanju almost exploded. No, he wanted to change the heavenly fate. Heavenly Tao Buddha, for the sake of all living beings, I will change your fate. Hanju gritted his teeth and thought of the scene he saw just now. His heart was filled with fear. He knew the true identity of the heavenly Tao Buddha. This fellow was actually transformed from one of the devil ancestors' corpses. This traitor was planted by the devil race in the Buddhist sect. Hanju began to curse the heavenly Tao Buddha. From now on, the other enemies would be cursed for 5 days, but the heavenly Tao Buddha would be cursed for 10 days. He wasn't doing this for himself, but for all the living beings in the world. At this moment, Hanju felt like the light of justice was glowing on his body. He couldn't let the heavenly Tao Buddha succeed. West Heaven, Thunderclap Monastery. The heavenly Tao Buddha, who was cultivating, opened his eyes and frowned. Again, Dark Forbidden Lord, what are you doing? The heavenly Tao Buddha thought unhappily. The appearance of the Dark Forbidden Lord made him very uneasy. His original plan was to target the demon court, the divine palace, and the heavenly court to kill each other. But everything had changed now that there was a Dark Forbidden Lord. Many mighty figures believed that the Dark Forbidden Lord was related to the devil race, but he knew very well that it was completely unrelated. There was actually a mysterious and ambitious force hidden in the heavens. Heavenly Tao Buddha sighed, feeling that his understanding of the myriad worlds was still too shallow. That made sense. Ever since the ancient Zenith Heaven existences retired, the appearance of the Dark Forbidden Zone and the Chaotic Forbidden Zone had long made the heavenly Tao more and more mysterious. No, I can't just sit here and wait for death. The heavenly Tao Buddha suddenly left. On Hidden Sect Island, all the disciples gathered under the Fuzang tree, including the Black Hell Phoenix clan, Fairy Shizan, and Chong Yue. They were all waiting for Hanju's arrival. They whispered to each other, curious why he summoned them. Hanju finally came out of the cave abode. Seeing him come out, everyone quietened down. Hanju walked in front of everyone and said expressionlessly, the Hidden Sect has always followed the philosophy of keeping a low profile. But now that the immeasurable calamity is coming, cultivation alone is unable to increase one's strength. Everyone was shocked. Hanju wanted to chase them out to train. The chaotic heavenly dog trembled in fear. Ever since its eyes were dug out by Li Xuanao, it had been filled with fear. The black hell chicken was also afraid. It had never gone out. Li Yao frowned. They couldn't continue cultivating here anymore. I'll create a special space where your consciousness can enter and simulate a battle. In the simulation battle, you will not be affected no matter how many times you die. You can choose to fight each other or all the opponents I have encountered thus far. Hanju continued to introduce. The simulation trial mainly focused on him. The others could only enjoy the use but couldn't choose the opponents they had faced before. Everyone was curious. Hanju immediately chose them to enter the simulation trial. As long as you're on the island, you can enter at any time. Hanju left after saying this. Marongchi muttered, simulation trial. How? As soon as he finished speaking, he fell into a daze. The others were the same. When they wanted to enter the simulation trial, their consciousness directly entered. 5 minutes later, most people had already entered the simulation trial. Zhou Mingyu said excitedly, Grand Master is so powerful. This mystical power is too powerful. It can greatly increase our combat ability and can also cultivate mystical powers in battle. The Black Hell Demon Lord said gloomily, why is the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor so strong? He was being beaten up. Grand Master actually fought the Heavenly Emperor before and can even simulate his strength. How strong is he? Marongchi exclaimed. After the simulation trial, everyone was even more respectful towards Hanju. They thought that all the opponents in the simulation trial were defeated by Hanju, including the Heavenly Emperor. Chapter 300 Undercover of the Buddhist Sect, Expanding the Hidden Sect Island. Chapter 300 Undercover of the Buddhist Sect, Expanding the Hidden Sect Island. The opening of the simulation trial caused the hidden sect to become lively. In the first month, all the disciples were immersed in the simulation trial and often exchanged their combat experiences, including Fairy Shizan, Chong Yue, and Li Yao. This method of fighting without creating enemies was fascinating. It was like a person who had never played games before experiencing an online game. Too addictive. Han Ju didn't participate and continued cultivating. As the immortal qi and connate qi in the Tao field increased, Han Ju's cultivation speed also began to increase. The Buzhou divine flower was also growing faster. It would probably mature completely in a few decades. Years passed. 10 years later, the craze brought by the simulation trial finally cooled down. However, two people were still immersed. They were Mirong Qi and Tu Ling. Most importantly, these two were still growing stronger in battle. The others were extremely envious. Han Ju didn't stop them after knowing that they were still becoming stronger. The war god and the Grand Magus were natural battle maniacs. Han Ju took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing the heavenly Tao Buddha. While cursing, he checked his emails. Your good friend Li Daokong was attacked by your enemy heavenly Tao Buddha. Your good friend Divine General was attacked by the demon race's immortal emperor, X39, your good friend Divine General is dead. A trace of his soul managed to escape. Your Tao companion Xing Hongshuan obtained an ancient treasure by chance. Her providence has increased greatly. Your good friend Zhang Yi was attacked by a ghost deity. Your good friend Ji Shanshan was attacked by the devil race X263120. Your good friend Primordial Chaos Heavenly Devil has entered the body of a Buddha and transformed into the devil heart. Han Ju's heart skipped a beat when he saw that the Divine General died. He couldn't help but think of the Heavenly Emperor corpse he had seen when he had deduced the heavenly secrets. How long could the heavenly court last? Sigh. The immeasurable calamity was really dangerous. Han Ju could only warn himself not to enter the calamity, or he would be as miserable as the heavenly court. The only thing he could help the heavenly emperor with was cursing the heavenly Tao Buddha. In addition, Han Ju noticed that the primordial chaos heavenly devil he had not seen for many years had finally become the devil heart again. Previously, this fellow was the white-robed Buddha's devil heart. After being subdued by Han Ju, he had been hiding in outer space. This was a good thing. In the future, the Buddhist sect would have another spy he planted. There was also a spy in the Jia school. Wait, why do I feel like I'm actually the Dark Forbidden Lord now? No, I'm doing this to protect myself. I'm not fighting for world domination. Han Ju consoled himself and relaxed again. A month later, he put down the Book of Misfortune and continued cultivating. The Buzhou divine flower beside the Nine Heavens galaxy water could already provide enough connate qi for Han Ju to cultivate. In addition to the Fuzang tree, the Resurrection lily, and the Tao field, the immortal qi in Hidden Sect Island was extremely abundant. Mirong Qi had said that even the heavenly court did not have 1/5 of the immortal qi of this place. The 36th grade reincarnation world destruction Black Lotus also converted negative karma faster and faster. Han Ju's cultivation speed could be said to be very fast. If this continued, he would break through to the rank 4 immortal emperor realm in less than 100 years. Han Ju looked forward to that day. Duan Hongshan was still imprisoned in the primordial world. Like the Black Hell Demon Lord, he was extremely afraid. He was afraid that his soul would be devoured by the 36th grade reincarnation world destruction Black Lotus. Han Ju planned to continue torturing him until he died or submitted. During the immeasurable calamity, killing enemies would cause one to inherit the other party's negative karma. Although Han Ju could absorb negative karma, it required time. If he directly inherited the huge negative karma of Duan Hongshan, it would definitely attract bad luck. Every time he thought of Duan Hongshan, Han Ju would wonder how many people were facing the calamity. 30 years later, the first intersect competition of the Hidden Sect ended. They all competed in the simulation trial. Han Ju was first, the Black Hell Demon Lord was second, and the white-robed Buddha was third. There was no surprise about the top three. The fourth was Mirong Qi. He had suppressed the Grand Unity Golden Immortal Realm's Black Hell Phoenix, as expected of the War God. The fifth was Li Yao. At the perfected Grand Unity Mystic Immortal Realm, she could also challenge a Grand Unity Golden Immortal. Next were two Black Hell Phoenixes. The weakest was the Chaotic Heavenly Dog. Fairy Shizan and Chong Yue didn't participate. This was specially permitted by Han Ju. After all, they were both mortals. Joining this competition was completely humiliating and pointless. The Chaotic Heavenly Dog sank into depression. Zhou Mingyu was also depressed. He had been targeted by his master, Chu Shiren. Chu Shiren didn't defeat anyone. He was even defeated by the Chaotic Heavenly Dog. However, he had defeated Zhou Mingyu and won very forcefully. The others could tell that there was something wrong with the master and disciple, but they didn't say anything. After the competition ended, the disciples cultivated even harder, not wanting to be surpassed. In terms of cultivation, Han Ju was getting closer and closer to becoming a rank 4 immortal emperor. On this day, Han Ju came to Fairy Shizan's cave abode. Chang Yuei also came. He prepared to preach the Tao to them. Where's Xing Hongshuan? Why haven't we seen each other for so many years? Chang Yuei asked curiously. Han Ju didn't hide anything and told her that Xing Hongshuan had already reincarnated. Chang Yuei was shocked. How could this happen? Fairy Shizan looked at him in surprise. Han Ju's powers could already affect reincarnation. Han Ju smiled. You don't have to think too much. Cultivate here in peace. If you want to return to the reroll world, I can send you back. I don't need you to cultivate to a high level. That was the truth. He was willing to raise the two women mainly to reminisce about the past. Seeing them, Han Ju could think of his weak past. He was vigilant and couldn't become arrogant. He couldn't stop cultivating. I don't want to go back. I'll stay here and follow you. Who knows, I might be able to live forever. Chang Yuei giggled. She was usually very hardworking. Other than cultivating, Han Ju would also give her the various arrays and prescriptions he had obtained and let her study them. Chang Yuei was suitable to be an all-rounded talent. It would be difficult for her to achieve anything just by cultivating. Fairy Shizan said softly, I'll stay here. If you need us to do anything in the future, just tell us. You don't have to care about our past relationships and treat us differently. She stared at Han Ju intently. Her gaze was as gentle as before. Han Ju smiled. There's no special treatment. The other disciples don't have anything to do, either. Then, he began to preach to the two women. They were already at the Mahayana realm and were not far from the loose immortal realm. Han Ju left after half a year. He didn't return to his cave abode immediately but wandered around Hidden Sect Island. Ever since the Tao field had been upgraded, the space inside had begun to expand. A sea area appeared at the edge of the island, formed by the nether spring water that had wandered in this sea area. It was still in the area of the Tao field and would not leave the Hidden Sect Island. The Hidden Sect Island wasn't small, to begin with. Ever since the Cultivate Diligently Become Immortal mountain was moved here, immortal chi filled the air. The desolate mountains on the island began to produce natural treasures and trees. It seemed like a paradise. The disciples of the Hidden Sect also began to spread out across the island. The 7 Black Hell Phoenixes gathered on a mountain, and the 8 Calabash brothers also occupied a mountain. Han Ju walked forward leisurely. As he did so, a line of words suddenly appeared in front of him. Detected bearer of Conate Providence, check its origin. Chapter 301 Spirit of the Divine Tree, Story of the Buddhist Sect. Chapter 301 Spirit of the Divine Tree, Story of the Buddhist Sect. Conate Providence. Han Ju raised his eyebrows. Was another strong enemy attacking? Strange, he didn't sense the aura of a powerful enemy. He immediately chose to check. Fuzang Tree. Early Stage Grand Unity Mystic Immortal Realm, Ancient Divine Tree. It contains the rules of space and time. After being nurtured by an immortal emperor all year round, it has absorbed the essence of the world and the chi of yin and yang. Its intelligence has finally matured. So it was the Fuzang Tree. Han Ju was shocked. He thought that there was another enemy attack. To be able to become a Conate Providence bearer in the system setting. That meant that the Fuzang Tree had at least the potential of an immortal emperor. He immediately moved to the Fuzang Tree. On the tree, Ada, Xiao and the Black Hell Chicken were still cultivating and did not sense anything unusual about it. Han Ju probed the Fuzang Tree with his divine sense and communicated with it. The Fuzang Tree was very nervous, but it didn't reject him. After all, it was a powerful primordial divine tree. During the nurturing of its intelligence, it had already grasped the language of mortals and could communicate with humans. After some communication, the Fuzang Tree acknowledged Han Ju as its master without any resistance. The Fuzang Tree couldn't gain human form immediately. It needed to reach a higher realm before it could transform. Alright, say hello to everyone. Han Ju suddenly smiled and woke everyone up. Who? The disciples looked around curiously. The Fuzang Tree began to shake and let out a childish voice, hello, everyone. I'm the Fuzang Tree. Please take care of me in the future, please don't lie on me anymore. The Black Hell Chicken, Ada, and Xiao were all shocked and jumped out. The Fuzang Tree has become a spirit. Zhou Mingyu exclaimed. Xuan Chang'an was very calm as if he had expected this. The others gathered around and asked. Hanju didn't participate anymore and returned to the Konate cave abode to continue cultivating. It was a good thing that the fusang tree had become a spirit. Although it had yet to transform, it could at least protect Hidden Sect Island in the future. For a time, Hidden Sect Island became lively again. After cultivating for 5 years, Hanju jumped out of the netherworld and went to fetch the mighty figures that the white-robed Buddha contacted. He had left the 6 paths insignia in the void where the reroll world was previously. It was still very easy to find. In the void, more than 1,000 cultivators gathered, all from the immortal world. They were all very nervous. Why isn't the mortal world guardian here? Yet, tisk tisk, he really moved an entire world away. Kai Yunxian is already so strong. It's not Kai Yunxian, he has long perished. There's a new guardian of the mortal world now. He's very mysterious. Sigh, I didn't expect that our generation would encounter the immeasurable calamity. We're really unlucky. The cultivators discussed and were very curious about Hanju. After a long while, Hanju finally appeared. At first, no one took him seriously and thought that he was the same as them. Hanju had no choice but to unleash his immortal emperor aura and suppress the void. Everyone turned to look at him. Is there anyone else? Hanju asked as he scanned the cultivators present. The highest cultivation level was only a Grand Unity Mystic Immortal. There wasn't even a Grand Unity Golden Immortal. Hanju was disappointed, but on second thought, it was very difficult to reach the Grand Unity Golden Immortal realm. Such a person could even be placed in an important position in the heavenly court. No one replied to Hanju, so he couldn't be bothered to wait any longer. He directly waved his sleeve and sucked all the people into the reroll world. The white-robed Buddha would receive them later. He turned around and left. After leaving Hidden Sect Island, Hanju felt very insecure and wanted to return as soon as possible. Wait, a familiar voice sounded. Hanju turned around and saw Zhang Yi flying over with the true sun flame. Hanju was vigilant. Was Zhang Yi going to avenge the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor? No, these two had a grudge, to begin with. Hanju asked, why are you here? Zhang Yi said angrily, I came to find you. I have something joyous to tell you. I didn't expect you to not be here. Fortunately, a group of mortals was waiting for you. What joyous occasion! The Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor who hunted you is dead. What, really? Hanju was overjoyed and had an unbelieving expression. Zhang Yi was in a good mood and smiled. I used a lot of effort. When I learned that you were being hunted down by him, I went to find him, but he didn't want to stop. So that's why you were almost beaten to death. Hanju ridiculed him in his heart, but on the surface, he said gratefully, thank you, fellow Taoist. Zhang Yi waved his hand. There's no need for that. I came to find you for another matter. Have you been hiding in the netherworld recently? I'm going to the netherworld to do something. Can you help me? What is it? Go ahead. The Ancestral Magus Tower. My Golden Crow Divine Clan wants to find this item. If you can help me find it, I won't disappoint you with the reward. I really don't know. Zhang Yi frowned. You can help me investigate. I don't want to go straight to the netherworld. I want to challenge the prodigies to fight for Providence. Alright, I'll help you. Yes, I'll rely on this in the future. Zhang Yi took out a token and gave it to Hanju. The token was engraved with the portrait of a golden crow. He would call it the Golden Crow token for the time being. Hanju took it and was about to leave. Wait, can you tell me another story? Zhang Yi stopped him and chuckled. So this was the main point, after all. Hanju cursed silently. Then, he suddenly had a bold thought. Good opportunity, Hanju said seriously, it's not good to tell a story here. I'm afraid that others will hear it and cause unnecessary trouble. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows in joy. He wanted to hear a realistic story. He immediately took out a divine jade and threw it above his head. The jade shone and covered the two of them. Hanju sat cross-legged and meditated. Then, he said, legend had it that Pangu split the heavens and his body transformed into the primordial world. Outside the primordial world, there were actually living beings. They were called the chaotic Fian Celestials. When the primordial world was evolving, the chaotic Fian Celestials had been spying on it. However, the heavenly Tao blocked them outside, preventing them from invading the primordial world. With the eruption of the immeasurable calamity, the primordial world was constantly ravaged. The chaotic Fian Celestials finally had a chance. One of the Fian Celestials found an opportunity to infiltrate the primordial world and occupy the body of a Buddha from West Heaven. In order to let himself adapt to the Buddha's body, he hid his identity. Zhang Yi frowned. Was this a story of the Buddhist sect? The matter of the Buddhist sect's devil heart was not a secret, but everyone in the immortal world believed that it was a domineering method used by the Buddhist sect to control their disciples. Could it be that the truth was not so? Hanju continued to fabricate the story. The immeasurable calamity erupted and the world was in chaos. The Buddhist sect always took action when others were in danger. It seemed to be for the peace of the world, but they were actually stirring up trouble and made the calamity even more chaotic. Hanju became more and more excited as he spoke, and he almost couldn't stop the fabrication. In the end, the Buddhist sect won and became the overlord who saved all living beings in the world. The providence of the heavenly Tao landed on that chaotic VN Celestial, and he used his great dharmic powers to open the heavenly Tao barrier and attracted countless chaotic VN Celestials to invade the primordial world and destroy all living beings. Hanju finished and smiled. This is purely a fictional story. Don't take it seriously. Zhang Yi snorted. What's the point? It has nothing to do with my Golden Crow Divine Clan. The Golden Crow Divine Clan is too low profile. They don't have many stories in the mortal world. HMPH. Alright, that's all. I'll be leaving first. Don't spread this story, lest it makes me look like I'm defaming the Buddhist sect. Got it. Zhang Yi waved his hand impatiently, and Hanju quickly left. After he left, Zhang Yi's expression darkened. Chapter 302 300 trillion years of lifespan, Ancestral Magus Tower. Chapter 302 300 trillion years of lifespan, Ancestral Magus Tower. After moving between the two worlds of the living and dead for hundreds of thousands of times, Hanju finally returned to the netherworld and entered Hidden Sect Island. No one should be able to guess that I'm here, Hanju thought proudly. After receiving them, he should cultivate in seclusion and break through to the rank 4 Immortal Emperor realm. As for what Zhang Yi asked him to do, he couldn't be bothered. This was for Zhang Yi's sake. That ancestral Magus Tower did not sound like a good place. It would most likely cause a bloody calamity. It was best to stay as far away as possible. Hanju didn't receive any new hatred points for the next few years. He was completely relieved. It seemed that Zhang Yi didn't betray him behind his back. Year after year passed. After about 30 years, Hanju finally had the chance to break through. He chased Dao Comprehension sword out and began to break through. Netherworld. In a mountain range, the mountain collapsed and dust flew up. The ground within a radius of thousands of kilometers trembled. Ji Shanshan floated in the air and looked nervously at the rolling dust mist below. The ghost sat on his shoulder and smiled. If you subdue this tower, you will have the right to challenge the immortal world. Ji Shanshan looked expectant. Previously, he had failed to snatch the divine treasure from the Saitagarbha palace. If he failed again, his Tao heart would be severely hurt. If he couldn't even snatch a treasure, how could he fight for Providence? A huge object slowly rose from the rolling dust. It was a simple and strange stone tower. A skeleton was locked in the window of each level. There were living beings of all races, and there were even bones of people. Beat faster upon seeing this pagoda. What Dharma treasure is this? What a powerful murderous aura. Ji Shanshan was secretly shocked. He stared at the mysterious stone pagoda with burning eyes. At this moment, a terrifying pressure descended. HMPH, you want to steal our treasure. Kid, you're courting death. A cold snort sounded, and the temperature of the world suddenly decreased. Ji Shanshan immediately rushed towards the mysterious stone pagoda, preparing to snatch it first. Boom! The clouds in the sky churned as a terrifying palm struck down. It was as if the sky had collapsed. In front of this palm, everything seemed tiny. After 3 years, Hanju finally broke through. He didn't have to transcend the tribulation in the Tao field. Rank 4 Immortal Emperor. His soul transformed again as his dharmic powers increased exponentially. In conclusion, it was awesome. Hanju began to consolidate his cultivation and checked his attributes list. Name: Hanju. Lifespan: 3,538 304,999,999,999,999. Race: Immortal, Stellar Primordial Body. Cultivation: Rank 4 Reincarnation Immortal Emperor. Technique: Primordial Chaos Reincarnation Great Tao, Heavenly Cycle Body Tempering. Great Tao of Life and Death Magic, Unparalleled Finger Divine Sword. 300 trillion years of lifespan. Who could compare to him? Hanju was arrogant. The pleasure of becoming a rank 4 Immortal Emperor wasn't as great as the increase in lifespan. Hanju cursed so many enemies and consumed so much lifespan, but his lifespan still increased greatly. This feeling, Hanju couldn't help but have a thought. Wasn't it fine to squander some lifespan? I have 300 trillion years of lifespan. What's wrong with me using 10 billion years? Great losses. It was only 0.01%. Hanju decided to squander it. 2 years later, Hanju's cultivation level had completely consolidated on the rank 4 Immortal Emperor realm. He planned to comprehend the Sword Dao first and raise all his Sword Dao mystical powers to the limit before spending his lifespan. At this moment, Dao Comprehension Sword's voice sounded, "Master, something big happened." Hanju couldn't help but spread his divine sense. No powerful enemies attacked. Did something happen to the disciples? Soon, Hanju caught sight of Tulinger's abnormality. She was curled up on the ground, her body spasming and her expression extremely painful. Hanju immediately flashed in front of her. He squatted down and checked her body. A mysterious power stimulated Tulinger's blood. Could it be her bloodline? What happened? Hanju showed a frown. He used his dharmic powers to heal Tulinger, but it was useless. Ancestral Magus Tower, Tulinger said with a trembling voice. She had already lost consciousness and her voice was almost unrecognizable. Hanju heard it clearly. The Ancestral Magus Tower that Zhang Yi was looking for. He frowned. At this moment, Tulinger began to bleed from her 7 orifices. The disciples panicked. "What should we do, Grand Master? What happened to her? Did she fight too much? Something's wrong. Something happened to her bloodline. Why did this happen? What should we do?" Everyone spoke at once. Everyone had been together for a long time and naturally did not want anything to happen to their fellow disciples. Hanju said in a low voice, "You guys guard this place. I'm going out." With that, he jumped out of Hidden Sect Island and flew towards the Bridge of Forgetfulness. He wanted to ask Meng Po if there was a way to save her. Not long after, Hanju suddenly felt a vast aura. The aura was very similar to Tulinger's, but it was even more powerful and ancient. Could it be? Hanju's expression changed slightly, and he immediately changed direction. Above the wasteland, there were cracks in the ground, and dust surged. Countless strange black lightning interwove in the air. Ji Shanshan lay on the ground, furious. Following his gaze, a burly man floated in the sky. He held an extremely majestic stone pagoda in one hand. This burly man had a sinister appearance, and his body was burly like a savage bear. He had a flood dragon wrapped around his waist and he stood on a fire wheel. Damn the Magus race! A roar sounded, fiery light rising, illuminating heaven and earth. Zhang Yi brought the true sun flame over. His hair was messy and his eyes were filled with anger. There were others on the ground. All of them emitted powerful auras. The weakest was a grand unity mystic immortal. Ji Shanshan gritted his teeth and said, "I can't win." The ghost appeared on his shoulder and said in a low voice, "You have to snatch it at all costs. The Ancestral Magus Tower is a supreme treasure. If you can snatch it, you will be qualified to enter the calamity. Otherwise, you will only be cannon fodder." Ji Shanshan's expression darkened. "How dare you thieves steal our treasure? You really don't know your limits." The man who had raised the Ancestral Magus Tower roared angrily. His voice shook the ground and his aura erupted. It pierced through the sea of clouds as if a huge hole had appeared in the sky. Facing the menacing Zhang Yi, he clenched his right fist and struck. With a punch, the world froze. Zhang Yi's expression changed drastically. Before he could react, he vomited blood and flew out. His speed was too fast. The space behind him shattered and he fell into the void. In the distance, Hanju witnessed this scene and was secretly shocked. Is this a powerful expert of the Magus race? What a terrifying punch. Hanju's gaze landed on the Ancestral Magus Tower in the burly man's hand. Tulinger was muttering the tower's name. Would she calm down after obtaining it? I'll snatch it, then. He had to hurry up and not expose his identity. Hanju compared his cultivation level with the burly man. He should be able to kill him instantly.